So what do you think the punishment should be?
I don't want to see the guy lose his job.
You just said 10 minutes ago you did.
1 season without pay.
So he still has to work
for free. Instead of, that's way worse.
I like that a lot.
One season without pay.
I like that a lot. Now, would he be able to do endorsements? Could he do an advertisement?
Anything you want on the side.
With
correct.
like a cybersecurity company?
Cool.
That's like,
Love
if you want to control your devices, I learned the hard way.
I love it.
Become
That's
the
fine.
face of Norton.
Yeah. I'm Jeff Ulbrich. It could happen to you, too.
It could happen to you,
Yeah.
too.
Welcome back to Macrodosing. It's Thursday. It is May 1st. Happy May Day. May the 1st be with you. And today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. The NHL playoffs are here. It's Chell time. The only place to buy hard-to-get playoff tickets is Game Time, the official ticketing partner of Barstool Sports. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying NHL playoff tickets. Big T, can you look something up for me?
One step ahead of you.
On the internet? Which series are you looking up right now?
Well, which one do you want?
Let's see. So
We've done the Capitals. Let's do it.
We've done the Caps, and also the Caps are playing on Wednesday, and
Right.
this episode is coming out Thursday. So let's look up. Let's go out west. Avalanche Stars. What are we looking at to get into Avalanche Stars? And the nice thing about Game Time is the prices on the app go down the closer it gets to puck drop. So you can save up to 60% when buying last-minute tickets. They've got all-in prices, so you don't worry about the fees being tacked on, the views from your seat, and the lowest price guarantee. They take the guesswork out of buying NHL playoff tickets. So for those Avalanche Stars tickets, what are we looking at?
Game 6, Thursday night in Denver. I can get you in for $117.
It's a big game.
I'm wrong. I can get you in for $83.
How about that? That's a great price.
You thought it was a great deal, and then it turns out it's actually even better.
It blew my mind.
Yeah.
Mind blown. You can take the guesswork out of buying NHL playoff tickets with Game Time. Download the app, create an account, use code MACRO. Get $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code MACRO, $20 off. Download the app today. What time is it? Game time. Okay, we are back. It is May. The year's flying by. We got Arian, we got Big T. Myself, Mad Dog, and Mackenzie behind the glass. Mackenzie, how'd you do at the Barstool Golf Tournament?
I actually have no idea. It was fun though.
Okay,
That's all that matters.
That's good. How many times did you swing?
Oh gosh, I'd have no idea. A decent amount.
Okay.
There was a lot of water on the course. That's what I'll say, and blind spots.
Was it a good course?
It was really nice, but it was hard.
Okay.
Like harder than I usually play. So, but it was fun.
All right. Well, welcome back.
Thank you.
Zoopy did a great job.
Yes, he crushed it
He did.
per usual.
So today we're going to be talking about Billy Shakespeare, maybe the most famous playwright of all time, also maybe the biggest fraud of all time. We'll let you be the judge on that. Right off the bat, Big T, what do you want to get into first from the news?
I'll let you decide.
Okay, let's talk about the MS-13 tattoo.
Okay.
You want to talk about that?
Sure.
Aaron, have you seen this clip?
Let me just preface this with a message to my Macrodosians. I had a good run. I had a great run. I've been in a great mood for a good 5 months, 6 months. Everything's been amazing. Today, I'm not in a good mood. Not in a good mood.
I think if everything's been amazing for 6 months, then that's a good.
That's what I'm taking.
I mean, then
I'm taking.
you're due.
I'm taking time to acknowledge that. Yeah, and today I don't got it. I am pessimistic. I probably should stay inside. I feel like I want to slap somebody, so I probably will stay inside. Everything's making me mad right now, and that happens in life, you know. So, fuck. That's just what I feel, you know.
So this is I don't know if this has everything to do with it.
Yeah.
But your internet has been down all morning.
Internet's
So you've been trying to
fucking up.
reconnect.
computers, motherboards fucking up, and it's like first world problems. But it's not just that, it's like everything. Everything. Your hat's making me mad. Right? It's like everything's bothering. Just happens. It's one of those days, man. So, woosah.
Zen.
You have coffee?
I did. Maybe that's.
Was it good?
It was delicious. Yeah. But
Oh,
even
that's something.
and then I gotta go. There's something I have to update on that. So that was like the last cup in May. So yeah.
Well, we're trying to stack dubs here. So you had a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
That's good. That's a good start.
Mhm.
You got your health.
Maybe. I haven't done a checkup in a good 4 years.
Okay. How'd the Brewers do last night?
I was just going to say, I don't know if they won last night, but they're playing the White Sox, so I'd say there's a good chance.
We did.
Okay, so Brewers got to win.
7-2. Yeah, Brewers won.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, so we're getting there.
All right. It just happens. I've been amazing for 6 months, and I'm very grateful for that. I'm just taking time to acknowledge that I am not today. So I'm ready to have a great podcast. And if I come off snarky, it's because I am. So let's fucking get it.
Gotcha. Understandable. Especially if like your internet's down, you've been trying to troubleshoot for the last 2 hours, trying to get that online. Hasn't been working. That's a very frustrating start to the day.
Mm-hmm.
It makes me think about. I've been thinking a lot about Q Day today. Q Day. Have you heard of it, Arian?
Mm-mm.
I read an article 2 days ago and it freaked me out, and so I've nonstop. Like, is today Q Day? What if tomorrow's Q Day? What if Q Day is coming soon? Q Day is what some people call the inevitable arrival of quantum computing.
Mm-hmm.
So scientists are working on sending or cracking encryptions, developing super fast processors and chips that will one day theoretically be able to crack any code, any password in a matter of seconds. As opposed to like right now, if you were to do it old school way, it would take thousands and thousands of years for each and every one. But since computers are getting faster and software is getting better and hardware is getting better, apparently it's arriving sooner than we think. There was, I think it was in Germany. There were some scientists that figured out a way to like instantly transmit a quantum message. And previously it had only been able to be done if it was like kind of frozen. I don't really understand how this works at all. But the bottom line is some people think that one day, maybe soon, maybe within the next 10 years, the quantum computing will get so fast that they'll be able to crack any Bitcoin wallet, any bank account, any text message, any email, anything. If it's on the internet, if it's on your computer, they'll be able to crack into it within a second. And that would be a very, very scary day. So the doomsday preppers might be right. Might have to get some land, some seeds, some animals, some firearms, because everything's online now. So I hope that doesn't come soon.
Guess it's kind of inevitable, huh?
Why don't we just stop with the quantum computing research? Why don't we just leave well enough alone?
Well, if quantum computing can hack any password, surely it could come up with a solution to its own power, no?
That's a great point. Faith in humanity restored.
No, not humanity. Fuck humanity. I'm talking about
In the machine.
In the machine. Faith in the machine.
yeah.
Yeah.
But then would
that's
it
a
also
decent
not
point.
realize that we're at its mercy?
I think that would denote consciousness, right? And I don't think computers have consciousness. Well, I know they don't.
Not yet.
But you're saying it would be conscious enough to create a workaround against itself.
No, I'm saying the engineer that is giving it orders or
Okay, I
prompts
see.
can come up with a solution to circumnavigate the problem of you can crack any password.
If priority number one for the software system is to protect humans and their information, then the computer system would learn, okay, I can't do this because it would actively be detrimental to the humans that I'm supposed to be servicing.
It's like who would win Travis Hunter the receiver against Travis Hunter the DB.
I got the
It's
I got the
impossible to know.
DB.
You think so?
He's gonna play DB in the league.
So I've heard from a few different people that there's some teams. I don't know if the Jaguars are one of them, but some of the teams wanted him and wanted to focus on him being a receiver first.
I am skeptical of any, especially around draft day when they're like heard from a source. I'm actually tired of that shit. Especially when the Shedeur Sanders was coming out, shit. They're like heard from a GM from a certain team that says his attitude. Fucking say it. You know what I mean? Say it.
Mm-hmm.
Say it. Like put all these rumors out there. Shit is weak. But anywho, I don't trust any of those claims. From what I've seen, I doubt that. I don't think he's like a top receiver. Like I think he's really good. I think he's the best dual athlete to ever come out of college. But I think you can't play both ways in a league like that at a top level. So I think they're going to focus on defense and then have like a package for him on offense. That's what makes the most sense. So like he'll have a package.
Mm-hmm. You don't think he can be the Ta-Nehisi Coates of the NFL?
I was headed there.
Oh, he's got a tall mountain to climb.
Tune into Tuesday's Nanodosing and figure out what that means if you haven't heard it already.
Speaking of football, Bill Belichick has just released a statement.
Oh, did he?
He did.
Okay, can I read it live, or can you read it live for me?
Yeah, which do you want?
You read it.
Okay. Quote from the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill head coach Bill Belichick.
Mm-hmm.
I agreed to speak with CBS Sunday Morning to promote my new book, The Art of Winning, Lessons from My Life in Football. Prior to this interview, I clearly communicated with my publicist at Simon & Schuster that any promotional interviews I participated in would agree to focus solely on the contents of the book. Unfortunately, that expectation was not honored during the interview. I was surprised when unrelated topics were introduced, and I repeatedly expressed to the reporter, Tony Dokapil, and the producers that I preferred to keep the conversation centered on the book. After this occurred several times, Jordan, this is an interesting phrase to me, with whom I share both a personal and professional relationship, stepped in to reiterate that point to help refocus the discussion. She was not deflecting any specific question or topic, but simply doing her job to ensure the interview stayed on track. Some of the clips make it appear as though we were avoiding the question of how we met, but we have been open about the fact Jordan and I met on a flight to Palm Beach in 2021. I could have just said that.
Mm-hmm.
The final 8-minute segment does not reflect the productive 35-minute conversation we had in which covered a wide range of topics related to my career. Instead, it presents selectively edited clips and stills from just a few minutes of the interview to suggest a false narrative that Jordan was attempting to control the conversation, which is simply not true.
Simply not true. Okay, let me tell you a little bit behind the scenes when it comes to promoting a book, because I have interviewed a lot of people that have been promoting a lot of books in the last, 9 years, doing Part of My Take, and we've had some people promoting books on Macrodosing as well. When you go on a book tour, you sign up for these interviews, and it's always communicated to you like, we would prefer to just talk about the book. You can't do a 30-minute interview with somebody just talking about what they wrote in the book. It doesn't work like that. So you will talk about the book. If you're lucky, the person doing the interview will have read excerpts from the book that they can bring up and ask for clarification on, or tell us behind the scenes about this chapter in the book. Like explain to our viewers why this was such an interesting part of your life, or whatever the case may be. So you will promote the book, but by far the most promotion for a book comes from other things that you talk about in the interview as they're promoting the book. So it does help book sales if you talk about things that aren't necessarily in the book. You can't always just stick to asking about the table of contents. It doesn't work like that. Obviously, if it's a book tour, you never want to get too deep into confrontational topics, because they're doing probably 7 or 8 interviews, and they're probably used to reporters or people doing podcasts that are kind of dancing around some of those sensitive issues a little bit. Maybe they'll ask a question adjacent to it, but they're kind of sick of answering and trying to move on from the same question about, 7 to 10 times over the course of a day. So if you're lucky and you have good rapport with a person, you can ask about some stuff that's like over the lines that maybe they wouldn't necessarily love to talk about. But if you don't have that rapport, then they'll just, shut it down, move on to the next one. This was a little bit different, though. When she's in the background, she's just like, move on. We're not answering that. That has only happened to me one time with somebody else in the room. And it's not the norm at all. You can't expect somebody to just talk about what's in the book. That's not going to happen, at least on in my experience doing interviews.
My thing is
So
the NFL is littered with media training people who train players to take these questions. Bill Belichick, I know, talks to his players about how to conduct yourself in interviews, and so I find it very hard to believe that you were just bombarded by questions without understanding how to navigate that. And so I don't know, dog. And plus you like 60 something, fam. If somebody asks you something
yeah,
that you don't want, you can easily say, "Oh, we're just not gonna answer that right now," in a very diplomatic way if you wanted to. You don't let your 20-year-old girlfriend say, "We're not answering that." Everything about it
yeah.
is weird, dog.
He's actually 73 for what that's
Holy
worth.
shit, even worse.
Yeah.
If a reporter asks Bill Belichick a question he doesn't want to answer, he usually just says Seattle.
Yeah, he's known for
We're on to
dodging questions.
Cincinnati.
I forgot about that too. It's that shit is weird, dog. I don't know.
Well, there's also a big difference in Bill's past life that he's had. He has had an adversarial relationship with the media. I would say that's probably a good way to describe it. He never needed the media for anything.
Mhm.
The media was always a hindrance. It was an obstacle that he had to jump around or jump over. It was something that he had to do. It didn't have any impact in his mind on winning football games, which was his job. That was the ultimate job to do. And so it was like, yeah, the more information we give the media, the more interesting we are. It actually doesn't help us accomplish what we want to accomplish. So let's figure out how to be super boring, very bland in front of them, and then we'll just get on with our day. Now it's kind of flipped where he does need the media for his book tour. He needs to have a good relationship with the media. He needs to be engaging with the media if he wants to sell books. And I don't think he really knows. I don't think he really knew how to do that. He wasn't like super prepared for it.
See, that's where I don't buy. I don't buy that as a 70-some-year-old man that was in the public eye at a very large scale for that long doesn't understand how to have a conversation to make you come off looking like a likable guy if you're trying to sell a book. Like everything about this it's just very awkward to me that I don't understand. Like I don't.
Who do you think wrote the statement?
That's a good question.
What do I think? What?
I mean, from everything I've seen, I'm not convinced who wrote this
No,
statement.
he didn't write that shit.
Well, I know it wasn't
Yeah,
him,
no.
but was it UNC's lawyers or was it someone else?
I don't know. There's no telling. What did Maddie? You posted something. She posted on her IG in a group, but it was way too many words. I wasn't finna read that. Give me a
Yeah.
spark
Yeah.
notes.
So she posted on Instagram to the Taylor Swift song, Look What You Made Me Do. And it was a screenshot of an email that Bill Belichick sent to a couple people that I'm assuming are like, obviously like her and then some, I don't know, behind the scenes people at UNC, whatever. And it basically said something about how he keeps saying I fucked up in the book, which I'm not sure exactly what that's referring to. But he said this is what I expected from the media to kind of like, twist my narrative, and they'll drive the sales from things that aren't about the book necessarily.
You're just too old for
And-
this. This is slop. You too old for this, dog. Like
He
this
said
is how 20-year-olds handle things.
And he said in this email, quote, I am not going to be the conductor of a hype train in the book promotion. We have enough hype to work with. Which I don't really know. Like, it's your book. Don't you want to be kind of on the hype train for your book? But nonetheless, she then said full statement to be released later today. And I believe she also, let me pull it up real quick. She also, it was like a slide. And then if you slid on the email screenshot, the next slide was a screenshot of a 36-minute video.
Yeah.
Of which is a mystery of what it is. But it's a 36-minute video, and this little screenshot is just the ground.
It's
Which could be anything.
It's bizarre, but don't blame the media for this. I don't think that this is the media's fault.
No.
Also, as Dave pointed out, this interview wasn't on 60 Minutes. It was on Sunday Morning, which is a very positive, like, kind of a puff piece show.
Yep.
It's hard to get them to, like, out you like that, basically.
Yeah, I do think that Belichick is having to kind of recalibrate for this tour how he handles interviews. I don't think it's something that he's used to.
You think there are going to be more interviews for this book?
Probably not. He
Yeah.
won't conduct the hype train.
I wouldn't imagine so.
I imagine that Bill got a pretty nice advance from the publisher, and you start to make royalties on the book after you meet the sales that correlate with whatever advance you got. I don't think Bill's going to be super motivated to do a whole bunch of press for his tour.
Didn't no, not Skip Bayless. Oh, the other guy. Colin Cowherd said he was impressed by Jordan Hudson.
Listen, it generated a lot of buzz. A lot of buzz about the book. So you can make an argument one way or the other.
He said that she was acting extremely professional.
We have heralded Bill Belichick as a genius for years, right? And it's just perplexing to me how you could parade around with a 20-year-old girlfriend and be surprised when people ask about the 20-year-old girlfriend. Like, how is your self-awareness that's why I don't believe this shit, because I do think he's a smart dude.
Yeah.
This is boggling me, right?
It also does bear repeating that I feel like gets lost in all this. That guy's football team has a game against TCU in like 110 days or something.
That's true.
Like he's coaching at a level he's never coached before, by the way.
Yeah.
And the season's coming up.
And all the players on the team have seen that interview.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like, wow, look what he's wearing. That's the other thing. If she's going to be in the room, shouldn't she be like, hey, Bill, do you have any shirts that don't have holes in them?
You just got $10,000 in free North Carolina gear.
Yeah.
You can't put one of those sweatshirts on.
Yeah, it's maybe the best color scheme in all of sports.
Incredible.
And you don't want to wear that?
Amazing color scheme.
Yeah, I don't get that either.
I am kind of Deoning my son. Hopefully he's good enough, but he's really showing promise in basketball. But I'm kind of pushing him to go to UNC in my phone.
Are you?
Yeah. I just dropped a couple hints of it, man. That was my favorite team growing up. Just check them out, see if you like it, man. Kind of push.
I mean, get him all his favorite shoes in that color scheme.
I mean, baby blue is it. I've always loved North Carolina. I don't know.
Does he care about any college teams?
You know who he likes? And it's independent for me. He likes Tennessee for basketball.
Well, that can't be independent.
I promise you it is, though. My kids have taken very little interest in the reason as to why they're in private school. it's just what it is. Like they have never, because I don't, when you, like I said, I always say when you come to my house, there's no football for me. We don't watch football. Like they know, but like they don't get it. And so like they just kind of live, and they'll be like, your dad's Arian? They're like, yeah. It's not a thing. We don't celebrate it like we probably should. And so he watches college basketball on his own, because I don't really watch college basketball like that. And so he just likes Tennessee. He knew I went there, but he's just like, he named his 5 schools, and that was one of them. But
tell him great decision, young man.
Yeah. Actually, it has nothing to do with me. But that's why I kind of sabotaging a little bit.
Have your kids seen Draft Day?
No.
That would be fun for your kids to watch dad be an actor.
Maybe.
Gonna be a Brown.
Yeah.
I had the opportunity of a lifetime there that I just squandered. I can cry on command. Like it's something I can do.
That's crazy.
As a thespian. And in that moment, it would have been so much more impactful if I'd have teared up. But I just didn't think about it. And nobody told me to. So after I watched it, I was like, God, you should just cry. Like if you cry, because it was a dope emotional moment. But I was like, I could have cried. If I'd have cried on command when I'm gonna be a Brown, come on now. Dude,
you would be an Oscar winner by now.
Easily. 2 times. Because I got another role.
Mm-hmm.
It's just how it goes.
We're gonna be talking about Billy Shakespeare today. William Shakespeare, the playwright. Before we get into him, a couple quick hits from T's list. Big T. Well, let's talk about the tattoo. Speaking of the fake news media and hard-hitting interviews, Trump sat down for an Oval Office interview with somebody from ABC. I don't know who this guy is. I don't know that.
Neither does Trump.
I've seen him. Trump doesn't know who he is. That's why he gave him the interview.
That's why he picked him.
That's why he picked him. Yeah. So in one excerpt, and I haven't seen the entire interview yet. I did see like the 2-minute clip or whatever. They were talking about the guy that was sent to the El Salvadorian prison. alleged MS-13 gang member. There's been a lot of back and forth about him because apparently he was sent there outside of the legal process, and now the Supreme Court has ordered the Trump administration to facilitate his return to the United States. Not saying to like bring him back and release him, but bring him back and then go through the proper channels. And if that happens, then they can deport him to a country, as opposed to sending him to lifetime in prison in El Salvador. So this guy, he's got tattoos on his fingers. Some people are saying that it stands for MS-13 because it's what, the marijuana leaf, the smiley face, the cross, and then what's the last?
Skull.
A skull. So some people have said that's gang code for MS-13. I don't know. I could see marijuana, smile. I definitely see those, but I'll leave that up to the people who are actually experts in it. So Trump was sitting down for this Oval Office interview, and the reporter was asking him about bringing the guy back to the United States and going through the process with the Supreme Court. And Trump said, this is a bad guy. He is he's been an adjudicated gang member in MS-13. He even has the letters MS-13 tattooed on his knuckles. The reporter pushed back on that and said, well, he's got the symbols. Those could be interpreted. And Trump goes, no. He has MS-13. And the reporter, if anybody's mad at the reporter, I don't really understand why, even if you're a Trump fan. The guy was trying to let Trump off the hook and continue the conversation. He was like, okay, we'll agree to disagree. Moving on. And then Donald Trump kept insisting they go back and talk about the actual tattoos on his knuckles, not knowing that the printout that Trump had held up a couple weeks ago had the symbols annotated with the actual letters and numbers on his knuckles. The reporter referred to it as a Photoshop. Trump said it wasn't a Photoshop. They got into a big back and forth about it. And then by the very end, Trump was just exasperated. He's like, why don't you just say, yes, I agree, and then we'll move on.
He said, do you want me to show you the picture?
Yeah.
Which actually would have been hilarious.
It would have been very funny if they had looked at that together. But it was a awkward but also hilarious back and forth between the two, because Trump, at the end of the day, he just wants you to agree with him, and then they can move on to the next topic. I don't know why this guy was insisting on disagreeing. He's being very disagreeable.
This is the fault of whoever showed him the printed thing with the MS-13 on it and didn't say, hey, just so we're clear, those aren't actually there.
Right.
The picture he had seen, in his brain, he was correct. Because the picture he'd seen said MS-13. He just didn't know that wasn't actually real.
That would be...
in his brain, he's correct.
Well, yes, to be clear, he's objectively wrong, but what he saw said MS-13 on it. He was just not able to discern what was real and what was fake.
I tend to agree with Big T that I don't think this was an instance of...
I don't think that's controversial at all. I said he's objectively incorrect.
I don't think that Trump was
giving
lying
him an out for saying
intentionally.
he thought he was correct.
I said he was objectively wrong.
No. But you're phrasing it in a way it's like, yeah, but he thought he was right, though.
No, I'm not defending him at all. I'm just saying...
I think there's two...
I'm saying he was not smart enough to discern what the actual tattoo versus the little thing that they wrote above the tattoo.
I think there's two questions here.
I don't think that's like defending him at all.
There's two questions. One, did he actually think that he had the tattoo MS-13 on his knuckles? I think he did. Is that a lie? I don't think it's a lie. I think it's being wrong.
He was wrong.
Yeah, it's being wrong. And then the other question is, should he have been able to determine that was a Photoshop? Or if you don't want to use the word Photoshop,
it's crazy.
The annotations.
I feel like I'm crazy right now.
What was that, Helvetica? He got Helvetica font?
I think you think that...
No, I know what you guys are saying, but you're defending the intentionality. Is that a word? You're defending the intention of Donald Trump rather than just calling out the inaccuracy of his statement.
No, we're saying that what he thought was wrong.
All right.
I don't know that I'm...
What is
I don't know that I'm defending him.
What is the... I guess what is the win in saying, but he thought he was right? What's the win there?
I don't think that there's necessarily... It's not a win. It's important, I think, sometimes with any president, and probably especially with Trump, to determine when he is saying something that he knows is not the truth. as opposed to something that he's just wrong about.
I don't know that that's the case, but I feel you.
I think there's a difference, but it was a funny back and forth because he was like, let's get the photo out. Let's take a look at it. I wish that somebody just pulled the photo out. I wanted to see this conversation because like that
would have been funny.
There's no chance that even when confronted with the picture itself that Trump would admit like, yeah, you're right, I was wrong.
Yeah.
He would have said
that's fake news.
Yep. You're fake news. Why are you doing this? I was very nice in giving you this interview, and you're being very, very dishonest and rude.
Yeah, he said, and you're asking me fake questions. Like, what does that even mean, dog?
Yeah. Yeah. And frankly, you're not being very nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, so that's that. What else we got on the sheet? Big T, this is a good story here. Trivia time, Aaron. Get you ready for the dozen.
Oh, shit.
So,
yeah, let's do it, though.
Meghan Markle and Prince Harry have nicknames for each other.
All right.
Okay? So Meghan Markle calls Prince Harry H. And Prince Harry calls Meghan Markle M.
Okay.
Can you guess why those are their nicknames?
What the fuck are you talking about? What?
If you guess that it's because it's the first letter of their names, then you would be correct. There was just an article in the New York Post. It says Meghan Markle reveals why she and Prince Harry call each other M and H.
That can't be. This is real?
Yeah, it's a real article.
When you say she reveals it, what does that mean?
She said when they started dating, like they had to speak in code or something. And so they called each other M and H, which how code is that? I don't know.
I mean, okay, that makes sense. Like if you got somebody saved in your phone, you don't save it as Prince Harry. You know what I mean? That makes sense.
Yeah, you don't want to say that as Prince Harry. I agree with that. I'm just more amazed at their marketing team or their media team, their PR, because they get stories like this written about them all the time.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It sounds like
the most mundane shit is a headline.
Yeah.
For people who really wanted to be out of the spotlight, I hear about them monthly at a minimum.
Yeah. Well, it's because he abdicated the throne or whatever.
Run that by me one more time?
Abdicated?
No.
What is it?
Abdicated.
Abdicated. He abdicated the phone.
Some say there's a cognitive decline.
I know.
Abdicated would be you said the word ab.
Correct. Abdicated.
Mm-hmm.
Abdicated the throne.
Yep.
And then, a couple years down the line, you start thinking to yourself, man, it was kind of nice when I had all that free money and a free team of people working for me. We got to keep our buzz going so that our next podcast can do, it can sell some ads.
I tell you who they need. They need Jordan Hudson to be their PR person.
I would agree with that. Yep.
We're not answering that.
So now they are enjoying the honeymoon stage of their relationship after being in the trenches for years. So the trenches, just to be clear, the trenches were when he was royalty.
Right.
In this analogy that they're making.
Hell on earth.
Hell on earth. So we're talking about like World War I, walking through your own shit and getting hit with artillery shells every day. That was when you were the Prince of England. Okay. Just wanted to make sure that we were all clear on that. What else we got? Well, we have Jersey Jerry who's going to pop in real quick and talk to us about Shedeur Sanders and the prank call, because the Falcons defense coordinator Jeff Ulbrich has been fined $100,000 for the prank call that his son made. All right, Jerry's jumping in for a second here. He's about to go play some golf with Beef, do some tips out on the course. Jerry, we were talking on Monday about Shedussi, about Shedeur. You wanted Shedeur real bad.
I did.
You did not get Shedeur. In fact, he went to the rival Browns.
Yep.
How do you feel about that, first of all?
I don't know. The whole situation I kind of feel weird about. I'm sorry if I have a lisp. I have some Invisalign in my teeth. But
say Russie real quick.
Russie.
Oh, it hits different with the Invisalign. Yeah.
Russie.
Yeah.
No, but like the way the media talked about this guy was like, no doubt about it, first round, easily, top 5 maybe. And then as the days went on and closer to the draft, it's like, oh, this guy might fall to 21. The Steelers are going to get him. Like, damn, he ain't falling to 21.
Mm-hmm.
And then what do you fall to? The 5th?
He was a 5th round draft.
That
pick,
is crazy. I don't know. It has to be something he has done in these interviews, or teams are like, we don't want to deal with Dion. We don't want to deal with him. Even I forget who was talking about it in the cave the other day. No, maybe it was Big Ev. No, maybe was it Big Ev? I forget. It was in New York, but they said maybe coaches are scared that Dion will take their job.
Okay. I could see. I don't know that Shedeur was ever like a guaranteed top 5 pick. I think that Dion talked about him like he was top 5. I think he said like he's going top 5.
Yeah, he tweeted it.
Yeah. He tweeted it out.
Yeah.
And Dion's a great promoter, and his son, like obviously Shedeur is a good quarterback. He's a good college quarterback. I'm coming around to the thought that he was just never good enough to be ever a top 5 pick or a 1st round pick, because teams will overlook a lot of shit. Yeah. I do think that there's a chance that once he fell past the first couple rounds and you're drafting him as a backup, he's less valuable as a backup than he would be as a starter, 100%. Because you don't want your backup to have like, you don't have to think about your backup quarterback
exactly.
ever.
Him, you're going to have to. With Dion,
you're going to have to think about him. The fans are going to be supportive of him probably. And then obviously with the Dion factor, that could create a situation where a head coach is like, that's not worth it for a backup quarterback. So once he started to fall, then it was more likely that he continued to fall. But then he got the prank call.
Disgusting.
From Ulbricht's son.
Disgusting.
Yeah. Disgusting. Did you see Rich Eisen's reaction?
No, I didn't.
Big Cat just showed it to me last night for the first time. Rich Eisen was pretty torn up about it. It seemed like he was gonna start crying.
Crying?
Yeah, just weeping for the future of America. But you had a take about the punishment for Ulbricht, because they just announced that Ulbricht has been fined $100,000. Which, Big T, what do you think his salary is right now?
I saw 1.6 somewhere.
So that's a good amount of money.
Yeah.
That's a good amount of money for somebody that makes 1.6. I mean, don't get me wrong, he can afford it. He'll be okay. But yeah, his son got him fined $100,000, and if I was his son, I would definitely try.
But
to
he's
do
made
that.
more money. You know what I mean? It's not like this is his first deal.
Right, he'll be able to afford it, but it's not like it's a guy that's making
fair
10 mil a year.
No.
If I was his son, I would really push hard for study abroad this summer. I would try. I would try to not go home right now.
Yeah.
And I think it might be to the point where his parents, they might make him pay it off or pay some of it off. Obviously not the full $100,000, but they might be like, you're getting a job, but all that money is coming to us. So
that'd be the right thing to do.
We'll take like $5,000 from you over the summer.
Yeah.
Or the parents might be like, you know what? I don't care that I have to pay money for you to get out of town. I don't really want to be around you this summer.
Be smart.
I
You
don't
know
know.
who the luckiest kid of all time is?
The kid that made the prank phone call. Yeah.
That he that he got it from that guy's son,
Yeah.
and nobody cares about him.
They should find his dad and find his dad.
Yeah.
I mean,
His dad's working like selling life insurance, and they're like, "Yeah, you know what? We're gonna need $2,500 from you, buddy."
The Sanders family, they can't sue for that, right?
no.
No, right?
You can sue for anything
You could.
in America.
But what would be
I don't
even
know.
the justification for that?
They won't.
Emotional trauma?
Yeah, they won't. If the Sanders family didn't have any money, then they might try to sue or at least get a settlement. Like imagine if in a bizarre world, Shedeur is not named Sanders. Let's say Shedeur Smith, and he comes from a very poor family, and he doesn't have any money to his name, didn't make a cent in NIL. And then the son of an NFL coach pranks you using a phone number that was given out through the NFL to all the coaches. And then let's say you don't get drafted. You would probably sue the Falcons. You would sue Ulbricht. You would probably try to sue the NFL.
I doubt you'd be successful, but you could try that.
You could settle out of court, though. Get Morgan and Morgan on the case.
Maybe.
Dan Morgan would make you a pretty penny from that. But, Jerry, what do you think about the punishment, $100,000?
First of all, when you're young, we always make mistakes when we're young. You know what I mean? I get that part. My issue with is the dad. There is no way that story is true. He left an iPad on the counter, and his son just so happened to go through it and see the number and get the number.
You think he gave it to him?
I think he got drunk.
Why?
And I think he got drunk one night, wanted to be a hot shot, and said to his kids' friends were at the house and was like, oh, I got all these fucking numbers. Look at these numbers I got. And it was handing out numbers or something like that. Something silly like that. Ain't no way the iPad's sitting on the counter and the son just like, oh, wow, look at this iPad, my dad's iPad. Let me scroll to see what quarterbacks I can get.
But there's no...
You'll never know. That's the thing.
There's no good reason he would do that. Like, there's nothing good that
maybe
could possibly
maybe to
come
look
from it.
cool in front of your kids'
You don't
friends.
think being like an NFL coach is already cool?
Maybe he wanted to be cooler.
And you're missing the key part, which is Jerry thinks that he was drunk.
Could have been drunk.
He could have been drunk.
Intoxicated.
Sure, but I don't know.
I feel like the iPad is sitting on the counter.
Yeah. It should be locked, right?
Should be locked, number one. Number two,
Talking about it like it's a gun.
is that kid really sneaking around when his dad's not looking to try to see what the code is to the iPad or what numbers he has?
You probably know your parents' PIN passwords too, right?
True, probably, yeah.
Yeah, it was probably his birthday.
Yeah, it's true.
True.
Parents are so
You
corny
believe
like
that story? The iPad was sitting there and he got it.
I don't know. I don't know what to think.
Jeff, I think Jeff gave him it.
You think he was trying to be a hot shot?
Yeah,
Trying to be the
maybe
cool dad.
they had a fire in the backyard with the family over and his friends or something like that. I tried to play it out a couple times, but there's no way that iPad was sitting there and he just went up to it and got the number.
I mean, you're painting a good picture here with the fire.
And I'm not saying Jeff is an alcoholic or a drunk or anything like that. I'm not.
We all make mistakes.
We all make mistakes, correct?
I mean, to be fair, the kid is clearly one of the dumbest guys to ever do it. That had to come from somewhere.
The fact that
Yeah.
they were recording it.
It just truly one of the most moronic things you could ever do.
Yeah.
So they taped it, and then did they put it out on Snapchat?
I don't know
I don't know where
but
it got
they
out.
clearly put it somewhere.
That's very dumb for them to put
Yeah,
that
100%.
Yeah.
on social media.
Think about it like this. You almost gave me Rogers' number
Yep.
stone cold sober.
Yep.
Imagine if you had a few alcoholic beverages in you. I would have had that number in a second.
You would have, yeah. That's it. No, that's a fact. Good point, Jerry. So what do you think the punishment should be?
I don't want to see the guy lose his job.
You just said 10 minutes ago you did.
1 season without pay.
So he still has to work.
for free. Instead of, that's way worse.
I like that a lot.
One season without pay.
I like that a lot. Now, would he be able to do endorsements? Could he do an advertisement
anything you want on the side.
with
correct.
like a cybersecurity company?
Cool.
That's like
Love
if you want to control your devices, I learned the hard way.
I love it.
Become
That's
the
fine.
face of Norton.
Yeah, I'm Jeff Ulbrich. It could happen to you too.
Happen to you
Yeah.
too.
I like that. That's not a bad idea, Jerry.
Nah,
Just work without pay. Can the NFL make you do that?
I don't think so. Probably not.
You just quit.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
But not if you're a real football guy. That would tell me everything I need to know about him.
Yeah.
Would he be more of a football guy to work in the NFL for free, or if he's like, fuck this, I'm gonna go to a high school and coach
NFL
for free?
I think.
NFL for free.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's more of a football guy than going to a high school?
I think
Why?
If you're getting paid by the high school.
No, I said for free.
Oh.
If he's working for free,
Well,
may as well help out the community.
real football guys, they don't leave their team. They don't walk away from their guys.
True.
It means too much to them.
It's true.
Yeah. All right, Jerry. Well, thank you for joining us here.
Yes, of course.
So,
Anytime.
quarterback for the Steelers.
Will Howard.
Yep.
Yep, number 2 quarterback right now. I would say Mason's pole position to start. Rodgers. I mean, I feel like the way they went about their draft, like they could have got Dart.
Yeah.
They passed up on Dart. Was he the best quarterback in the draft? I don't know. Second behind Cam Ward, people are saying. Who knows? They had a chance to get Sanders. They had a chance to get the kid from Louisville. They passed up on all those guys, and to me, that just says behind closed doors, there's a deal done with Rodgers already.
You'd think so.
Like, yeah, you would think, unless they're like, we don't really give a fuck about this year. We'll trot Mason out there, see how he does. If not, we'll bring in Will Howard, see how he does. We're drafting a quarterback in 2026 regardless in Pittsburgh.
Can I tell you something? I don't think that's a bad idea.
I don't either.
Because that would probably solve the problem that the Steelers have had.
100%. And this is why, Eric. You bring in Rodgers for a year, right? You don't know in 2026 what Will Howard is.
Right.
You have no idea. Grant, if Rodgers is healthy and plays all the games and whatever, goes to the playoffs, one and done, whatever, he's gone at the end of the year. You don't get a chance to look at Will Howard. You're going to probably draft a quarterback anyway.
Yep.
Why not start Mason, See how he does. I don't think Mason's going to win 10, 11, 12 games. He's not.
Mhm.
He's not that great, but he's a good backup. Mason's a good backup.
I could see him winning anywhere between 7 and 9
games.
Yeah.
Correct. Yes. And at that point, why wouldn't you just, if Mason goes on a 3-game losing streak, he's out. Will Howard's coming in. Why wouldn't you want to say, Will Howard, try to beat Mason out in camp? Maybe he does beat him out in camp. Who knows? You start Will Howard. At least you know what you got in him. Because if he's like, comes out and he's like Jaden Daniels, like that level of success, you don't need your quarterback no more. You got your guy. You're not going to waste a first-round pick on a quarterback. You already got him.
Yep.
And then if you do the Rodgers thing, it's like they're going all in for a Super Bowl, and I don't think they can win a Super Bowl without Aaron Rodgers. So it's just kind of like a waste of another year.
Yeah, I think that they could definitely compete for that division. They could make the
100%,
playoffs.
100%.
I could even see them winning a couple playoff games.
I could see it too.
Maybe 1 or maybe 2 playoff games.
But
with
then
Aaron
you're stuck
Rodgers.
in the same spot again.
And then you got to get a quarterback next year, and you don't have a draft pick with which to get one.
Correct.
What about this one? And then I'll let you go.
Hmm.
Raji, in like a week, he hits up the Steelers, and he's like, yeah, I've been thinking about it. I think I'm going to take a gap year. I think I'm going to go to Costa Rica and surf instead of playing football.
Very possible.
I'll let you know next year. Do you pick up the phone and do you call Big T and try to get Kirk Cousins?
No. I don't want nothing to do with Kirk Cousins. I also have some inside information. Aaron Rodgers is getting solar panels done in Pennsylvania.
Near Pittsburgh?
Correct.
Okay.
Took the solar panels off his house in New Jersey.
And he's
Because it's harder to sell a house with solar panels on it already. Transferring the solar from New Jersey to out by Pittsburgh.
okay.
You
That's
still got connections with the union guys.
Not those guys.
with
Somebody
the
else.
green energy guys.
Correct.
Lib of the year.
People forget.
That's why he's our Lib of the year.
People forget my second ever real job. My first real job was bagging groceries at the Safeway in Arizona. My second ever real job was an electrician for a solar company out in Arizona.
Okay.
People forget that.
JJ
People do
Solar.
forget that.
So I have made connections in New Jersey and Arizona with solar, and possibly have the company Aaron Rodgers has used in New Jersey.
That's very interesting.
So
Very interesting.
why would this guy lie about solar? I don't know. I told him I would never use his name. So
It's a man.
it is a man. Yeah.
How old is this guy?
Like 40s.
Okay. Bald?
No, he's got hair.
Okay. Don't use his name, though.
No.
White guy?
Yes, white. Yeah.
White guy. Okay.
Yeah, white guy.
White guy got hair in his 40s.
Yeah.
Solar company.
Yeah.
American?
I think
American white?
I think he actually might be like Italian.
Okay.
I think he actually might be Italian.
All right, but don't use his name.
No.
All right. Thank you, Jerry.
You got it.
Appreciate it.
You got it.
No Kirk Cousins.
No, I don't want him.
Find Jeff Ulbrich and force him to coach.
Yep.
And also make him coach for free. And let's just roll the dice with Mason Rudolph.
Fuck it. Him and Will Howard. See what happens.
Okay. Sounds good.
See you guys.
Thank you, Jerry.
Yeah.
Jersey Jerry was brought to you by Sport Clips. Sport Clips isn't just where you get a haircut, it's your playbook for looking fresh. Walk in, catch the game, sit back while the pros in men's hair handle the rest. And when you're done, walk out feeling like you're ready to take on anything. No hassle, no surprises, just a solid cut every time. It's simple, it's easy, and it's made for guys who want to feel like they got the home field advantage. If you want to track your real-time wait times, download the app, check in online, Sport Clips, the haircut experience dialed in for guys. It's a game changer. Sport Clips. Check it out. There is one more thing I wanted to get into before William Shakespeare. There is a high school hazing scandal that is rocking the country.
Saw this.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I saw it right before we started recording.
The lacrosse one. Yeah, it's up in Syracuse, New York. Hometown of who? Jim Morrison.
Yeah.
That's right. From the Doors.
What town is it in?
Let's see. It's West Hill High School in Syracuse, New York. So, with most youth sports, there's some initiation rituals that sometimes occur, sometimes cross a line into hazing. You be the judge about this one. There are 11 high school players at West Hill High School that could face felony kidnapping charges. They have to turn themselves in by Thursday. So it's 11 of these guys, And what happened was they tricked some of the young players on the team. They said, we're all going to go to McDonald's. Come hang out with us. Let's get a meal. And then the person that was driving the kids started to pretend that he was lost. And then he pulled over to the side of the road, and a bunch of the other kids from the team jumped out of the woods pretending to be kidnappers. They were dressed in disguise. They were wearing all black. They had knives. Apparently there was at least one person that had a handgun. I'm not sure if it was a real gun or if it was a fake gun. And some of the kids in the car were able to run away and escape, but one of the kids could not get away. They put a pillowcase on his head, and then they tied him up. They threw him in the trunk of a car, and then they ditched him in another wooded part of the county. And eventually the kid got home, but there was, according to the DA, there was a period of time when he thought he was going to be abandoned in the middle of nowhere. They took a videotape of it. I'm guessing some of the kids that were doing it were like, this is going to be awesome. I can't wait to videotape this and post it online. So they videotaped it, and the DA said, this is not a rite of passage.
They said videotaped it.
Yep. I've seen the videotape. It is not a trivial manner. I don't know how long this young man will be affected by what happened to him. And everybody was like laughing in the video. So they could be charged with kidnapping. They said, turn yourself into the sheriff's department within 48 hours. You can face a less serious misdemeanor charge of unlawful imprisonment. If you don't, if you're tougher than me, you're a gambler and you're going to play the odds. You don't think you're going to get caught. Trust me, the men and women of the sheriff's department are going to identify you. You'll be arrested. You'll be prosecuted as an adult, and you'll be charged with a very, very serious felony of kidnapping, perhaps in the second degree. So some pretty serious stuff for just a prank. The gun is probably, I'd say the knife in the gun is where it went over the line.
Not the rest of it?
Okay, little story time. I did not take part in this. However, I did hear that there was, I'll just say, a team that I played for at some point. I'm not going to say where. A year before I got there, some of the older kids, they were doing their hazing initiation thing. They kidnapped one of the freshmen, tied him up, and put him on some train tracks. Just messing around. Just having fun.
Guy stuff.
Just guy stuff, having fun. And then they drove away, and then the guy wiggled his way off the train tracks and was fine. Didn't get hurt or anything. Nobody got in trouble for that. And all of a sudden, now we want to make a federal case out of it.
Your story actually goes to what I was going to say, which is I'm in no way advocating for doing shit like this because this is insane and crazy. However, this and the Shedeur Sanders thing, just stop filming yourself doing this shit. Like, how stupid are you?
Agreed.
Like, if they don't film the Shedeur Sanders thing, like, maybe they trace the phone number back and figure out it's a guy at Ole Miss and he knows that, like, maybe. But when you put yourself on camera, I mean, what the hell do you think's going to happen?
Yeah. There were a couple pictures that were taken of the incident that I have seen in my personal experience.
Your incident?
Well, it didn't happen to me. It was before I was there.
Right. A friend.
I've seen a picture of the individual laying down by the train tracks. But that's kids will do that. They'll like record everything. This is particularly stupid because you've got a gun, you've got a knife, and then you put a pillowcase on his head and you recorded the entire thing. Very, very dumb. I will say probably crossed the line.
I got some questions. Is the kid's family pressing charges?
Doesn't seem like it.
Let me see here.
But I mean, you could also do that after the fact, like civilly, I guess.
I guess depends on what kind of families a civil case would even, you know what I mean? If you try and get some bread from it, sure. But I gotta take. I think there is a healthy level of hazing. I think there's a healthy level of establishing a hierarchy in a locker room. And I think that as time has gone on, this may be a little old head take, but as time has gone on, the internet has diluted that pool of hierarchy, and cats come in with a little bit of like, they come in with a little bit too much mouth. And I feel like sometimes, especially when you talk about football, hazing can be healthy because you can sit them down. You know what I'm saying? You sit the young cats down. Because I think there's a lot of benefit to having older cats with experience that, there's a hierarchy there. Also, it there's a healthy level of bullying too. Like you can't just say what you want to say. You can't just do what you're gonna do. Somebody gonna put hands on you. Now I'm not advocating for violence per se, but sometimes you just gotta rough these little motherfuckers up, man. Like we did some shit like that. Like I didn't kidnap nobody, but definitely not at gunpoint. Probably took a little too far, but like if I'm thinking of this is my son. I'm be like, all right,
Mm-hmm.
move on. Like I'm not
The gun is you
Like,
can't have a gun.
they probably took it too far with the gun, but like 99% sure they weren't gonna shoot the kids, right? It was just to create the illusion of kidnap, right? Which again,
You're sounding pro
no.
kidnap.
This is probably not the best idea, but it is funny. It is funny. Because I'm thinking about if I was the kidnappers, right? I know I'm not gonna hurt these motherfuckers, but it's that's what hazing is about. It's putting the fear in the younger cats. It's putting fear in them, shaking them up a little bit. Now, like I said, they went too far, but federal charge, like, come on, dog. That's why I asked if the kid's parents sued, because if that's the case, yeah, but like, you'll be all right, dog. Like, you're not gonna have no PTSD. And if you do, all right, well, don't get kidnapped. Fight harder. I don't know. That shit. I don't.
I mean, for you, what did you have to do that you think this isn't that bad?
It's like you get humiliated. You get your shit gets stole. I've seen cats get tied up. You know what I'm saying? I've seen some beat downs. I've seen some. It happens. You know what I mean? And then the coaches
Was
step in and say,
college or
hey,
the NFL worse?
I would say college was probably worse. In the NFL, I mean, shit, even in the NFL, there was some crazy shit that happened. And again, little motherfuckers went to the coach and shit. And then the coach comes to us and be like, hey guys, can't be doing that. But then like was alluding to like rough these little motherfuckers up. You know what I mean? Because I feel like there's a healthy amount of like where you can, like, especially talking to a lot of my like cats that I play with who are younger than me, but are like old heads now. They always say like, dog, like there's no, you can't talk to these young cats. It takes a special younger cat to have like reverence for older players. Like when I came in, there was dudes who was like mid 30s, high 30s who they weren't even that good, but I just had respect for their journey. And like nowadays, cats don't really have that. They're like, man, shut up, old head. Like you don't know what you're talking, like that type shit. And so it's like you don't have any. There's no balance, and I feel like, and they curved a lot of that hazing in the NFL and in other sports. So I feel like there's a healthy balance of respect that comes with it when you got a whole squad of holding young men accountable to be, I guess, respectful to the journey that these cats have been putting their bodies through and all of that. So like I said, yeah, they went too far, but man, it'd be all right. It's like
this guy loves to haze. Loves to haze this guy.
These motherfuckers is soft, bro. These little motherfuckers is soft. Like, yeah. You know what?
Okay,
next new Barstool employee got kidnapped.
Yeah. I mean, I understand what you're saying, that it's important to have a hierarchy, especially in a locker room in sports, because if you're a coach, you need a team that kind of polices itself. Mm-hmm. You have to know who the leaders are. Everyone can't think that they're a leader on the same team. You got too many Chiefs, not enough Guardians. And so it's important. It's important to have everybody. It's important to have like a natural order in the locker room, and ideally it'll be a healthy natural order where your leaders are good people and they've got the team's best interest at heart. They've got the younger kids' best interest at heart too.
And then a beautiful thing happens. A beautiful thing happens where a younger dude will do something that the older dudes respect, and then they get shown so much love. And then it's like a rite of passage. Like, all right, man, you one of us now. And it's a little like Treehouse Clubbish, but to me, that's kind of like it's old school, but like I feel like that's healthy. It's healthy to have that, to earn that. you get to earn the respect of your peers that you're grinding with. That's dope to me. And so like, there's a rite of passage of getting humiliated, and
Yep.
it's a little bit of toxic at times for sure. But I think at the end of the day, when it's coming from a good place from the older heads, now I can get out of hand for sure. But when it's coming from a good place from the older heads, like it can be healthy though. Like I said, they probably took it too far, but like it'll be all right, man. It'll be all right.
So you're right that if it's done in a way that's like in good fun and not malicious, then it's usually okay. But sometimes, and you've probably played with guys like this before, Big T, you've probably been around guys like this before. Sometimes there will be guys on the team. They're usually not very good. They're usually not, maybe they're not starters. They're not really the impact player on that team. And they look at the hazing as their personal Super Bowl.
Yes.
It's like this. I'm going to be in charge of the hazing this year, guys. It's never the best player on the team that does that. It's usually a guy that's more in the background, and that's the guy you got to watch out for, because that guy will definitely take it too far and will fuck everything up and do stuff that is malicious and hurtful. You got to make sure that the people that are in charge of it have a pretty level head about them. Like in the NFL, I don't know if you had to carry shoulder pads. If you had to, did you like take the team out to a dinner or something?
Oh yeah, all that shit. Yeah, and I'm the most. I buck the system more than anybody. So like, I almost got into some fights, right? Where it's like you got to carry the shoulder pads, young, and I'm like, I ain't doing shit, like that type shit. You know what I mean? And you have it out, and older heads come to you and they talk to you like, listen, man, everybody's done this. All your favorite day, it's just a part of it, dog. Like, and so it's like, okay, like, you know, they disarm you, they disarm your ego, and then towards the end, you start balling. The respect is like so much more, because it's almost like you buy in. You want us. You bought in. All right. It's team. It's a team. It's why a lot of ex-athletes get hired at jobs over somebody who hasn't played on the team. Like, this is a real thing when they look for like job qualifications. Have you played in team sports? Because you understand how to work in this environment where you know how to operate under that hierarchy, and there's a level of respect, there's camaraderie that's given. So it's like, yeah, I mean, I'm for hazing. Yeah, I'm for it.
So pro kidnapping, Arian Foster, he said he's in favor of the kidnapping with a gun.
We don't know if it was real.
All right, so here's where the problem comes. I can't believe I'm the one having to take like the moderate stance on this to bring Arian back to earth. Here's where the problem lies, Arian.
Mm-hmm.
If you get kidnapped and you see somebody with a gun, you might be liable to do anything and everything necessary to get yourself out of that situation if you think the gun might be real, right?
Sure.
So you might hurt somebody. You might hurt yourself trying to escape. Let's say you're on the side of the road. They pull you out of the trunk. You see a guy come out of the woods with a gun in his hand. You might turn around and sprint away, but your feet are still tied. You fall into the road. You get hit by a car.
Yeah, that could happen.
So that's why I think this was a bad idea.
I didn't say it was a good idea. Hold on. I never said it was a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
I said I understand the notion of wanting to like have an established order on the squad, and
right.
I'm just saying if it was my kid and everything was all right, then I'm not pressing no charges. I'm telling the police stand down, not stand back and stand by, but stand down. You know what I mean? Like, we'll be all right, dogs.
And in the story that I told, the guy that got put on the railroad tracks, he figured out that it was hazing. And he was laughing, and he got off the railroad tracks, and he went back to an apartment that he knew some of the guys on the team lived in, and then they proceeded to drink a bunch of beer and have a great time.
See what I'm saying?
And they laughed.
Great friends to this day.
Like, they're the best friends to this day.
See?
And so now it's a story that they tell, and it's like, look how stupid we were. We tied him up and put him on the trip. That probably went too far, because then at that point you also introduced the possibility of maybe an accident happening.
Yeah, but that's
still stupid.
That's kids being kids. That's young men being young men. It could go for it. Somebody could get hurt.
Do girls do this stuff?
Soft,
have you guys ever been like kidnapped and put on a railroad track just for fun?
I can't say I have. Madeline was in a sorority though. I wasn't.
Here's a hot take.
My sorority did.
Girls are meaner.
I don't think
than
girls
boys.
kidnap for fun.
No.
Girls are meaner than dudes, bro. Because like,
not like
hear me
this,
out. Hear me
though.
out. Yeah. We'll put
Mentally.
each
They're
other
not
in,
as
like,
physically.
crazy. They are meaner.
that's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. Like
Mentally.
their intention is way deeper than ours. Ours is like, yo, yeah, let's fuck with him. Let's take his, let's slap him up a little bit. Let's put him in some imminent danger. Girls are like, yo, let's ruin her relationship. Like, you know what I'm saying?
But like,
Yes.
but like dudes, like not to, dudes kill other dudes, like for frat hazing.
Yep.
I get free T-shirts
Unintentionally most of
but
the time.
are they dead or are they not?
Yep.
Men are just
Point
like-
Madeline.
Dumb.
Men are dumb.
Like
and
women will hurt you, but like intentionally.
Yeah.
women will hurt you, but you're still living and breathing. Men
They know exactly what they're doing.
Men will beat you with a paddle so hard and make you drink your own puke, and then you're close to
Okay, see,
death.
yeah, okay.
Women will try to hurt you like an 8 out of 10, but that's the maximum it can go. Men will try to not hurt you, but it could result in death.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Also, the
And-
Mental.
frat hazing
It's
is
mental
usually
versus
different
physical.
than sports hazing. Frat hazing gets real
Yeah.
Deadly.
homosexual as well.
Also
Oh.
that. Oh yeah, like an elephant
It
walk.
gets gay, man.
Mhm.
It gets real gay. And like
Yeah.
that shit
It does.
can be that's where I would say, all right, hold on. This is we fighting now. I will fight for my booty. You're not gonna do I will we going to town for my booty.
There's a bridge too far. Your anus is like the gates of
That's your no-no
Thermopylae.
square.
That's
You'll send 300 men to defend your anus from the Spartans, from the
yeah,
Persians.
1000%. Yeah, we're gonna fight to
PFTs
death.
is
Yeah,
up
I'm not doing the gay stuff. It's just not.
Wait, my butt?
Yeah, your butt.
Oh, are you talking about Yelich?
Christian Yelich,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's different because it's non-penetrative.
A tongue
Unless
your butt.
we're talking about Mad Dog's definition.
Yeah, that's my definition. You
Yeah.
want to get real freaky with it.
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
So
But for the record, I'm not for like hazing in general. Like as far as like, I mean, I am for hazing in general, but I'm not for like putting people
Full
in
card.
serious danger. I'm just not. I guess I'm neutral about it. I'm just neutral about it. Like I get why people do it, and you got to be smart about it. Like don't be stupid, but man, motherfuckers be soft though. You be alright. You'll be alright.
yeah, but okay. So I think that if somebody like Arian was in charge of initiation or whatever, that's probably a good dude to have in charge. He's gonna fuck with you. Nothing bad's gonna happen.
Yeah.
There are a lot of cases though of people taking it too far.
Yeah.
Like there's been a ton of hockey teams that have had some serious problems where like, yeah, it's full on rape, like full on sexual assault that
Dude,
they're doing to their own
that's
teammates.
it's crazy, dude. That's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah,
I mean,
and it,
too much
it
anything
fucks
will kill
people
you.
up for the rest of their life.
Too much anything, okay? Drink too much water, you'll die.
Yeah, that's true. Also, in the case of kidnapping, I can see why we would think that it would be funnier than maybe a woman might think. Because if a woman's getting kidnapped, I'm sure she has a very different reaction to it most of the time than a guy
women's
would.
team?
No, this is guy. This is guy's team.
Okay, that's different. That's
Yeah, it's a guy's team here. The gun definitely took it too far. The knife definitely took it too far.
Don't know if those weapons were real though. Or just
But still, that introduces the possibility of somebody getting hurt. Not even getting shot with a fake gun, but running from it, getting hit by a car,
Sure.
trying to fight your way out of it,
Sure.
and beating the shit out of the guy with the gun.
Sure, yeah. I mean, and see that to me, that's where the rationality comes in. All right, if you start fighting back to the point of, all right, this is getting out of hand, somebody got to take the mask. It's like, dog, we're just kidding, like that, and the de-escalate the situation. He still might be a little heated, but y'all will be all right. There are regulations and boundaries to doing it. I'm not advocating full scale anarchy when you haze. I'm saying you got to draw boundaries. You got to respect people's boundaries, respect people to a certain extent. Like you want to make them uncomfortable, but you don't want to take their booty, and you don't want to do anything that's like crazy. You know what I'm saying? Kidnapping is kind of crazy.
Fake guns, okay. Real guns, a bridge too
That's
far.
what I'm saying, man. I'm saying
Maybe
I'm
not,
saying it's
though.
a
I don't
bad idea.
know.
The guns was a bad.
Unloaded, real gun unloaded.
Idea. Gun was
What
bad.
about the mags in, but there's not one in the chamber?
There you go. Yeah, safety's on.
Gun was a bad idea. I agree. Gun's a bad idea.
Because because obviously with high school kids, probably not. What if you pull a fake gun on somebody that's got a real gun?
That's why it's a bad idea. It is a bad idea.
Fuck around, find out.
Yeah, I'm just saying if it was my son and he was safe at the end of it, he made it back. One, hey, brother, you are a survivor. You know, you got dropped off in the middle of the woods and you made your way back. I'm bigging him up. Like, oh, that's amazing that you did that shit. But I'm not gonna call the chief of police and be like, yo, I need these kids arrested. No. We could talk to him like, yo, y'all need to take it down a notch, dog. That's wild. But hey, you got a rider on your team. You know that now. So
That's true. Also, pulling the gun too far.
yeah, the gun. Y'all got to stop with that shit too. Yeah, because she fuck around, catch the wrong one, who's also carrying.
Yep.
That's a bad idea. It's a bad idea.
Yep. My personal hazing experience is pretty light. We just had to drink a keg of beer, and the worst, because I think our team finished in second place in the race. I just had to put icy hot on my balls, and that is some pain.
Hey,
like you,
I did say my rookie year, Vontae Leach. Shout out to my fullback. He was fucking with me so much, dog. He would not stop fucking with me. He put icy hot in my helmet. He put icy hot in my shoes. He put icy hot in my gloves. He stole my playbook. Playbooks are 10,000 if you lose them. So I'm fucking stressed because I'm an undrafted free agent. I've never seen $10,000, and if you lose it, it's 10 racks. And so he stole my playbook for like a week, though. And I was like, yo, you are fucking with me. I was like, I'm undrafted, though. So that's when I got to the point I was like, I'm ready to fight this nigga because it was like, you're fucking with my future, like at this point. What Big T said, when they take you out to eat and you have to pay the tab, I knew my time was coming, but I maybe had $1,500 to my name. I was like, dog, I can't pay for all y'all's dinner. You know what I mean? He's like, we'll take care of you. So we went to Fogo de Chao, and it was like $500. You know, it's $50 pays. And so I was like, he took care of it, which was still like 1/3 of my net worth. But still, it was a rite of passage. It is what it is. And I didn't feel like kind of way about it. Like I was just nervous about my future. But I was all right. That's one of my best friends to this day. It's my dog.
I also feel like if they're fucking with you in that way and taking your playbook, they probably have an idea that you can play.
They like you. Yes. That's why I tell people all the time, like, if I talk shit to you, like on this podcast, like I'll talk shit to y'all, right? And I would never do that to somebody I didn't know or didn't like. I wouldn't do that because to me that invites like a different level of altercation that I wouldn't never initiate. And so if I'm fucking with you, that means I'll fuck with you. You know what I mean? That's what that means. So all my family knows that. Like I only talk shit to you if I like you. Everybody know that.
You should worry when Arian stops yelling at you.
It's true.
100%. If we don't joke, I don't like you like that.
So another outcome of this story here is that they are they're canceling the entire lacrosse season. So the whole team has been shut down for the season because of this. A couple bad apples.
I think they should be allowed to play, but every opponent gets to have one real gun on the sideline. They can't fire it, but they can brandish it at 3 times throughout the game.
I think that's fine. Like lift up the shirt.
Yeah. Like
real
how
gun.
the football players do that, but it's real.
You should be able to have a real gun that you can brand, that you can just demonstrate to them after a big hit.
See, sitting them for the whole season, that's weak to me.
Yeah.
Just sit all the seniors for half the season or some shit like that. You know what I mean? And let the younger cats play.
And just everyone who was involved. Punish those, but the entire team is now.
Yeah, man. That fucks up the schedule. It sets a precedent. Now for 10 years, all the coaches are gonna have this talk of don't haze because and then the little entitled newcomers come in and it just gets real weak.
This is the beginning of every good teen drama. The season's canceled.
That's true. You can fight your way out of this. You can figure out a way.
Yep.
Or there will be another coach that sends a player to a rival school that's about to have a big year. Like they got a lot of upperclassmen that have been pretty good in the past. They send one of their kids to enroll in that school, get hazed, and then call the cops. They shut that school down.
I thought you were going to say like the star player wiggles his way into another school, gets on the team, and now the coach is like, all right, we're going to show him. And so the rest of the team rallies around a core scrappy group of guys, and they beat the rival high school with their star player.
I like that. That's another good movie. All right, so in conclusion, hazing, Arian says, is good. I say that hazing has had a demonstrable history of going too far and putting people in dangerous situations. But, however, I understand the reasoning behind certain initiation rituals and rites of passage. But But you should have somebody on your team that like gets elected to the position of hazer that everyone can say, okay, this guy knows where the line is.
Yeah.
Don't let the shitty wild card on your team that doesn't contribute anything to the team be in charge of hazing the newcomers.
As a coach,
because
set boundaries.
he's probably also pissed off. That shitty guy that loves to volunteer for running the hazing show. That guy is actually upset at some of the newcomers because he knows that they're probably better than him.
Mm-hmm.
So he will take it way too far on them from a place of insecurity.
Yep. 1,000%.
Don't let that guy do it.
Nope.
That guy's a problem.
Nope. But I am an advocate for the way the 300 soldiers are raised. You throw them out there with the wolves, and if they come back, they're ready. Go fight a wolf and then come back, dogs.
I love it. Arian, did we tell you? I forget. My memory's going bad. Did we tell you on Tuesday's episode after Christian Yelich came in about the bet? I think we did, right?
Mm-mm.
I think we've told him before.
No, he knows.
The home run derby.
The home run
Yeah,
derby?
the booty licking bet, yeah.
Yeah, okay. I just want to make sure because Mad Dog brought it up, and
The booty.
I didn't know if you were sitting there like, what the fuck are
Yeah,
these
no.
white people talking
Yeah,
about?
I know. Like I said, he hit a grand slam there. You better make it ready.
If you were to guess the race when it comes to this hazing thing, do you think that white people are more inclined in general to be let's take the words Syracuse and lacrosse out of the conversation.
I was gonna say I've got a good idea.
But I think some of the stuff that you described earlier that crosses the line into maybe sexual assault.
Mm-hmm.
Typically, when I see that, it has been a white fraternity that does it. The historically black fraternities, the rituals for them are like, we're gonna brand you,
We'll whoop your
right?
ass. No, branding is means you made it. Hazing is just like they just probably whoop your ass. I don't know. I didn't do the fraternity thing. I always thought it was lame, but I know a bunch of dudes that did, and it was like, yeah, they whooped you. But I don't know, man.
That's some crazy shit when you see the Omega symbol on somebody.
Yeah, all the cues at it.
And you're like, dude, you got branded. They stuck an iron in a fire and then they held it on your skin.
That's why it was never appealing to me because I'm like, yo, because when you hear all the stories going through college, you hear all the stories about all the weird ass hazing shit that go on, and I'm like, at that age, my mood today was my default setting, and so that shit, I'm fighting 100%. So I have to fight the whole frat. But like in my experience, white dudes, and I've said this before on this podcast, but white guy humor is centered around gay stuff. Like they just love it. It's just funny to them, and it's never been. And farts and gay stuff. It's
yeah, those are building blocks.
Yeah, and it's like, and so when they haze, they do a combination of that stuff, and I just never understood it. It was wild to me.
Mm-hmm.
Tie him up naked to the end and just throw. I seen dudes get tied up naked to a field goal post and like got eggs thrown at them and shit like that. I was like, shit weird, dog. Like, why naked? I don't know, man.
Yeah,
it was never a thing. But yeah.
Once you score your first try in rugby, you have to do a Zulu run. That's kind of like when you've finally been accepted. Or I guess some guys don't end up scoring tries, but it's like scoring a touchdown. When you get your first one, usually after the game's over, you have to take off all your clothes and run across the field and then back completely naked while they chant at you.
Yeah. What was it? I think one at Tennessee was they strip you naked and they threw you in an ice bath or some shit like that.
Mm-hmm.
Something like that. Yeah.
Yep. They make you run, then they chant mean things at you while you run, and then you get back, and then they hand you a bunch of beer and let you put your clothes back on and give you a hug.
We are evolved from a tribal, communal species, and we still have those same kind of things. You got to earn your stripes amongst the tribe, and they're barbaric, they're archaic, and no matter how advanced we are, we always go back to the ruts. And the ruts, it can get weird, get a little stuck.
Good, Big T?
There was a very infamous frat hazing incident at the University of Tennessee.
Was that
pretty recent?
Was that the butt chugging?
Yeah.
Can you explain that?
I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory. There's I feel like we may have talked about this one time. There's a funny press conference with the kid's lawyer who gets up there and is like, my clients were not involved in the butt chugging. It's very funny. But yeah, they, I don't know what fraternity it was, but they got kicked off campus for a little while. I think they came back while I was in school, maybe.
They were boofing.
Yeah.
Butt chugging. Yeah. I can't say I ever did that. I can't say I ever wanted to. But if there are a bunch of impressionable youths that are listening to this podcast. So if you are an impressionable youth, take this away. Don't do the hazing stuff with a shitload of alcohol, because people do die from that.
That's true.
And everyone's got different tolerance too. So what might make one kid drunk might kill another kid. So don't do that. Just want to put that out there as a disclaimer.
Is it true if you sit in a tub of alcohol, you'll still get drunk?
I think that's the same concept as butt chugging, boofing, putting the vodka-soaked tampons in. If it gets in through your butt, it hits your bloodstream faster.
Vodka-soaked tampons.
Yeah.
What the fuck is this?
It might be an urban legend. It might be something that just people talk about, but nobody does. But I've heard stories of either women or guys soaking it in vodka and then putting it in their bodies, and then it gets absorbed to your bloodstream real fast. So you get hammered.
Huh.
But it is dangerous when you're doing anything in those holes. All right. We'll get to William Shakespeare. He's brought to you by Steven Singer Jewelers. Do you call your mom? Do you call her every day? Or do you just call her on special occasions, once in a blue moon? Well, Steven Singer Jewelers wants to help you tell the moms in your life every single day how appreciated they are. He's introducing his brand new limited edition 24 karat gold dip blue moon rose for Mother's Day. These roses are great. We've got the wine red roses here in the studio. Fantastic gifts for mom. Mother's Day is coming right up. Don't wait until the last minute. You know what I'm going to do today? I'm going to order my mom one of these because it's a great present. Your mom deserves it. Your mom has done so much for you. It's just one day out of the year that you have to say thank you to your mom. Don't forget about it. It'll mean so much to her. Remind her how loved she is. Say thank you. Picture this brilliantly bright blue rose with diamond-like sparkles. Excuse me, not diamonds in the rose. They're diamond-like sparkles. They shine, they glisten in the light. It's a beautiful rose, and again, it's dipped in 24 karat gold, and it's got Steven's full lifetime guarantee. It comes to you in a nice gift box and even your own personalized Mother's Day note. They're making it so easy for you to get your mom a fantastic gift for Mother's Day that she's going to love, and she will say thank you very much. It'll be a great experience for her. It comes with the gift box. It's got the personalized note. You can order it for her right now at IHateStevenSinger.com. Hurry, because they're not going to be restocked. Supply is limited. Shipping is always complimentary. That means it's free shipping. Nothing says I love you like a real, authentic Steven Singer 24 karat gold dipped rose, and it lasts forever. Only available from Steven Singer Jewelers in Philly or online at IHateStevenSinger.com. William Shakespeare is also brought to you by Stella Blue and their brand new cold brew variety, Miss Peach's Cold Brew. 100% Colombian, 100% delicious. And the best part is that every purchase helps homeless pets find their forever homes. Make better, fresher cold brew at home in 3 easy steps. Steep it, refrigerate it, enjoy it. That's really just 2 steps. Steep it and refrigerate it, and then the last one is just cashing in on all your hard work. Enjoy it. Grab Miss Peaches now at StellaBlueCoffee.com. Use promo code MACRO, 20% off orders of $25 or more. Sip with a purpose all summer long. All right, let's talk about William Shakespeare. William Shakespeare, was he a fraud? It's something I'd always heard about.
Yeah, I'd heard it in passing a time or two, but never, cared to look into it or anything. I think it's like all the evidence I've seen in the last 24 hours seems like this guy's one of the all-time frauds.
It seems like he could be. I think at the very least it is it's like 50-50. So there's an organization out there called the Shakespearean Authorship Trust that has been looking into this for quite a long time. The claim that William Shakespeare is the lone author of all of his works, they dispute that highly. One main point against Shakespeare is that he grew up in a household that didn't read and didn't write. And the best playwright of all time, who coined thousands of phrases and invented new words, grew up in a household that was unable to read. That's what the claim is. He grew up in Stratford upon Avon. Can somebody tell me why English towns always have the like upon in them? Is that on the river? Is that typically river towns?
Yes.
So there's like multiple upon Avons?
I would guess so. Yeah.
Okay. So for a guy that grew up in a very rural area, and if you're thinking back in Shakespeare's day, that's extremely, extremely rural. He didn't travel either. And he never left England. So when his parents would sign for things, they would make an X. This is like the level of education that his family had. And in terms of his siblings, none of them could write either, which is pretty crazy.
It's unconfirmed that he even went to grammar school.
Yeah. So there's a period of time called the lost years in Shakespeare's life. And the lost years would be the first 28 years of his life. That's a lot of lost years. So he moved to London when he was, I guess, 29 years old.
Wait, so we have no record of 28 years of his life?
Yep. Nobody knows how he got his education.
I've learned in the last 24 hours, we don't have a lot of records about most of this guy.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Now, I would assume that there's probably a lot of people that were born and raised in this era that lack documentation.
Sure.
That wouldn't surprise me. But Shakespeare was mega famous in his era. And at some point, you would think that they would or they would track down and preserve as much documentation about his life as possible.
Maybe this is too early to bring this up. I don't know. Do you know how many of Shakespeare's plays that we know were handwritten by him that were ever found?
I'm going to guess, let's see how he wrote a bunch of plays.
Wait, so are you saying
Ten?
like, is there any
Zero.
original manuscripts?
Yes.
Yeah,
Zero.
There aren't any.
Zero.
No original manuscript.
There are some like legal documents and things that people know were handwritten by him, but no manuscripts of anything.
So even Shakespeare's staunchest defenders claim that the reason why he was able to come from a household with no education, no ability to read or write, and then go on to be the literary genius that he was, is just because he was a genius. Because he was that smart, that as a little kid growing up in this house with absolutely nothing in his environment, pointing his way towards education, literacy, any of that, he was just so smart that he said, you know what, I'm going to learn how to do all this stuff on my own, and overcame all of it without a single trace of evidence of where he went or how he acquired the knowledge.
It's
In fact,
very eerie similar.
there has been 0 books discovered that Shakespeare ever owned. They didn't even find a book or a private library that he had. So he also walked away from his game in his 40s when he was still like at the peak of his powers. He just retired, and he never wrote a play. He never wrote another story. He never wrote a letter after he decided that he was going to quit. When he moved to Stratford afterwards, he didn't put on a play. Nobody else there thought that he was a poet or a writer. He just retired, and he walked away from the game, and he was like, that's it, I'm done. Never again shall I put quill to paper and write anything else. So also, there are no records that Shakespeare ever got paid. So he wrote his first 2 poems to the Earl of Southampton, and besides that, he issued no more dedications. He didn't try to get anybody to pay him for any of his shit.
If Shakespeare is real, not if he's real, he was a real person. if he did all this, he is the smartest person to ever live and the most philanthropic.
Yeah, I would say that if he did this, he is a great con artist.
Not even, he's the opposite of he's Robin Hood.
What, by stealing other people's work?
Well, no, not necessarily. I'm just saying he did all this for free, gave it to the masses for nothing.
Yeah.
Guess he's not stealing from anybody. Although maybe he did. Who knows?
Well, I think there's a lot of people that scholars have pointed to be like, it seems like this could be a play by this guy that Shakespeare put his name on. So if it was a con, it was a great con because nobody really brought this up to anybody until I think the 1800s or early 1900s, which means that his con stood the test of time. He died in 1616, and for this to be like a 300-year con, where your name has become synonymous with excellent writing. Like, this guy's a regular Will Shakespeare.
Yeah, he's the standard. Like, he's the, like, any genius is like, he's an Einstein. Oh, this guy's a Shakespeare.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that's crazy.
Also, I didn't know this about Shakespeare. And this is another point in my column for I hate this person. You know what his wife's name was? Mad Dog McKenzie?
Oh, shit, my bad. I stole the thunder.
Wasn't it Anne Hathaway?
It was Anne Hathaway, yeah.
Wasn't she like 12 too?
No.
Probably.
She was robbing the cradle. So he was on my vibe. He was 18 and she was what, 26 when they had a first child?
Mm-hmm.
So he liked them. He liked them. He say Anne, or you like him young.
Edgar Allan Poe was the one whose wife, who I believe was also his cousin.
Yeah, Edgar Allan Poe,
12.
dirty guy.
Yeah.
Very dirty guy. Big time pervert.
But wrote all his shit, the best we know.
He did, yeah. At least he was an honest pervert. Shakespeare, on the other hand, very much in dispute. So
we know Shakespeare existed. We do have evidence that he existed. Yes. There's a marriage license to the pedo Anne Hathaway. And what else? There's
his signature wasn't even good. That's another point for, I don't think this guy wrote all this shit. If you look at his signature, it's sloppy, it's shaky. This doesn't seem like a guy that spends his entire life creating and writing.
Sometimes they say that, though, like the people with the worst handwriting have the best minds.
Doctors,
that's true. But back then, Shakespeare spent all day writing, and I'm sure that he had to have good penmanship to be able to write all these plays and manuscripts. And if you're a genius that has studied literature like he had, allegedly, in order to be able to create all these plays and turns of phrases, the fact that he could, he signed his name like a 6-year-old, that just adds to the suspicion for me. I'm not saying if he had bad signature that meant that he didn't write anything, but that's a big point.
When I think of Shakespeare's signature, I think of like some beautiful calligraphy, and turns out it's horrible.
Yeah. So there've been a couple people that really kickstarted the process of pointing out that he might be a fraud. One of whom was the direct relative of somebody that is suspected of writing a bunch of the plays. This is a person named Delia Bacon. That's a delicious sounding name, isn't it? Delia Bacon. She was born in 1811. She was raised in Connecticut, and she went to school that was run by Harriet Beecher Stowe's sister. She's the person who wrote Uncle Tom's Cabin. Fun fact, my senior year in college, I was an English lit major. I had to figure out what my capstone class was going to be, where you had to study a single author. And the two options, ironically, were Shakespeare and Harriet Beecher Stowe. And because I was lazy and I did not sign up for any classes ahead of time, I waited until the last minute. All the Shakespeare class, they were all filled. So I had to take the Harriet Beecher Stowe class. And then for a semester, we read Uncle Tom's Cabin twice.
That's
as
pretty.
opposed to.
It's probably your beginnings of being woke, man.
I don't know because there was some problematic stuff in there too.
Sure.
But there was also like you read the same book twice because that's the only thing that she's famous for. Whereas William Shakespeare, you could spend decades reading all of his shit. So yeah, I had to read Uncle Tom's Cabin. I have to admit I spark notes it the second time. I'm not gonna read that shit again. I didn't like it the first time.
Fun fact: that book low-key kicked off the Civil War.
Yeah, it was instrumental in kind of I don't want to say, I guess, radicalizing, but it was instrumental in winning over the hearts and minds of the majority of the country to be like slavery is a bad thing. There are also some stereotypical characters in the book that came from a place of racism, where even the author of the book that was anti-slavery was complicit in some pretty bad racial stuff. But I guess that's
So was Abraham
the time
Lincoln.
and place. Yep, that's true. So this lady, Delia Bacon, she was a direct descendant of one of the people, Francis Bacon, that might have been the author of a bunch of his plays. So she was the one making the case, saying that Francis Bacon wrote all of Shakespeare's shit.
I heard
And-
this when I was young. Like there was a rumor floating around that Francis Bacon wrote all this shit, and I mean back then I couldn't care less. But this has permeated for a long time.
And they killed her ass for saying that shit.
You know what? I just looked it up. I don't know that she was a direct descendant. I apologize for saying that. Because I think she was just named after Francis Bacon. I don't know. Big D, can you fact check me on that one? Delia Bacon.
It's her last name.
Francis Bacon. So she got obsessed with proving that Francis Bacon was the real author. She even moved to England, and she tried to dig up Shakespeare's grave. Sounds like she also went crazy. She did write a book about this in 1857, and then she got thrown into a mental hospital, which it was a pretty bad spot to be back then, and she died in 1859, 2 years after she wrote the book.
Not related, by the way.
Not related, okay.
She was just dedicated to the cause.
Very dedicated to the cause. So when she brought this to light, people were pissed off at her because Shakespeare was like the biggest thing ever. And Shakespeare was looked at as being, the end all be all of the English language. But when people would write biographies about him, they wouldn't have any facts, they wouldn't have any documentation whatsoever, and they couldn't locate where he received his education or anything like that.
Who would we kill today if someone went on a rampage about this person is a fake and everything they've done was actually this other guy? Who would we have thrown in the loony bin?
I mean, Taylor Swift is, if somebody went on a rampage and was like, she didn't write anything, she's not even real,
Yeah.
people would flip out about that.
Hey,
But like,
the more I watch Taylor Swift, the more I am perplexed.
Don't.
Go on.
I'm just like, I'll be watching her perform and I'm like, bro, how is this entertaining? I don't understand that shit, dog. It's like,
They're gonna come after you, Unc.
you just don't get
she
it.
cannot dance. Can we agree on that? Can we be objective?
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
100%.
No. She isn't Beyonce in terms of like the dancing and the.
I'm not bringing,
No,
I'm
that
not bringing
I
any
can agree.
juxtaposition into it. I'm just saying objectively on her own,
Yeah.
doesn't have the best rhythm
Taylor
in the world.
Swift. Taylor Swift, not
No.
known as a world-class dancer.
All right, but-
That is true.
Because I understand the songwriting aspect. Like, okay, you enjoy, how she puts together and composed that. Yeah, that kind of it. But like entertainment-wise, as far as like performing, it is pretty underwhelming.
I disagree, but I see where you're coming from.
It's because the songs don't mean anything to you.
That could be the case. Yeah.
You've never been a 13-year-old girl that's been broken up with.
You're not really listening. It sounds
You're
like.
right. See, so we got an old saying,
You're
you don't
listening.
hear Jimmy. You just listen.
Mhm.
You
You're
don't
listening.
hear-
You're not.
You don't hear
It's not
Jimmy.
in there. It's not in your heart. It's not in your heart.
I got you, man. Yeah.
But I do see where you're coming from.
Yeah, you're definitely right about the
Alright.
dancing thing.
But why wouldn't she take like dance classes? You know what I'm saying? Like you're one of the top entertainers of the world. Like You can develop. Maybe you can't develop rhythm. Can you develop rhythm?
Yeah, you can.
I feel like you could.
Yeah, people get better at drumming.
Yeah, I feel like it's more like a technical thing. I just feel like, yeah. I mean, I think she could. She could. I don't think she's doing a good job of enhancing her performance. Who cares though? She's doing what she needs to.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's doing what she needs
Yeah.
to. Good on you.
Like at a certain point, she's doing well. Like
Yeah.
why
Yeah, why improve yourself? Fuck
She
that shit.
works. Yeah, she works hard enough.
Yeah,
Yeah. Maybe Travis will teach her a couple steps.
I've never seen the dance.
We'll get back to macrodosing in a second. It's brought to you by our good friends over at Row. Row, they just dropped their new product. You've heard us talk about it before. Row Sparks. Row Sparks, it's a prescription ED treatment. It contains sildenafil and tadalafil. That's what you would find in Viagra. That's what you would find in Cialis. But Row Sparks are different because you just put them under your tongue. They dissolve. Dissolving treatment hits the bloodstream even faster than pills do. And they work in 15 minutes on average. 15 minutes on average. Some patients see a little bit faster. Some patients see a little bit slower. So it's 15 minutes on average. And it is the best way to be confident in the bedroom. They give guys thicker, longer erections because they get fuller. Row Sparks gives you the boost so you can last longer. It's more fun for you both. And they stay active in your system for up to 36 hours. So that's nice because you can take it at night, and then in the morning, you can still be ready to go. Be ready for play with Row Sparks. With Row Sparks, get the erection you've always wanted. Row connects guys with medical partner 100% online. There's no awkward conversation with in-person providers. And if approved, treatment ships directly to your door. If prescribed, new sexual health patients get $15 off Sparks on a recurring plan. Connect with a provider at row.co/macro to find out if prescription Row Sparks are right for you. That's ro.co/macro. Get $15 off your first order. row.co/macro. Get $15 off. There was a court case about Francis Bacon and William Shakespeare right here in Chicago in 1916. There was a case between two gentlemen. One was Colonel William Selig. He was a movie producer. And Colonel George Fabian, who was just a millionaire that lived out in Geneva. So I don't know why these two guys were colonels, unless it's like being a Kentucky colonel where it's just a honorific that gets bestowed upon you. Maybe they were Civil War colonels. I don't know. But they got into a lawsuit into litigation against each other because Selig was trying to produce and display silent movies that were all based on William Shakespeare plays, and Fabian was obsessed with his theory that Francis Bacon was the real author of the play. And they got into it, went through the legal process, and there was a bunch of witnesses that got called up there. There was one by the name of Elizabeth Gallup, and she said that she deciphered the cryptogram hidden in Shakespeare's writing that proved that Francis Bacon was the true author. And they went back and forth, and the judge eventually ruled that it was Francis Bacon that wrote all of Shakespeare's plays. Some would say that Francis Bacon, the plays that he has been documented to have written, have a distinct style and are very different from the Shakespearean plays, which could mean that maybe he wasn't the author. There was one historian that said if Bacon wrote Shakespeare's plays, then somebody needs to tell us who wrote Bacon's plays because they're not the same person. Mark Twain also thought that Shakespeare was a fraud. And I tend to just agree with most things that Mark Twain has to say.
You said disagree?
No, I agree.
Oh,
I
agree. Yeah.
I think Mark Twain was a very funny guy. And I think that he was a sharp guy.
Mm-hmm.
And so he, along with Sigmund Freud, Walt Whitman, Nathaniel Hawthorne, Henry James, and Nietzsche, Charlie Chaplin, and Emerson, they all independently, or I guess maybe with each other, they all came to the conclusion that Shakespeare was a fraud and that he didn't write any of this stuff. So Twain was a big Shakespeare guy, and he visited his house and he said, "This is all bullshit." He didn't write anything. And yeah, with Shakespeare, Twain believed that if you want to write creatively about big ideas, international politics, just these giant stories that he was writing, you have to have some life experience that would teach you about these things and how to write about them, which is a fair thing to say. Like if you grow up in Alaska and you never leave Alaska, and the first time you get on a plane is you fly to Hollywood and you say, I want to write a old school Western that takes place in Arizona. You probably wouldn't be able to pull that off, right?
I'm sorry, bro. I was reading this up on this court case. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
I couldn't find anything on this court case from Francis Bacon.
So Bacon wasn't in the loss. He wasn't like one of the parties.
No, that's what I'm saying. Okay. So I'm sorry to distract your thought. I don't want to.
That's
do that.
okay.
But I'm just looking. So there's equally no evidence of Francis Bacon claiming authorship in his lifetime or any manuscripts that he had either. Or
That's because he was like nobility, and it was low class to write plays, which is why he would have potentially wanted to hide it.
but like no contemporaries. Like wouldn't you like pass a letter over and say, yo, like this is my burner account? You know what I mean?
No, because like he wouldn't have wanted anybody to know. What if it was his secret passion to write plays, but it was forbidden for the noble class? He had to hide away in the darkness of his room to write Macbeth.
Shame.
So like,
by candlelight.
Isaac Newton was probably the greatest brains to ever grace the planet Earth. Good argument to say so. He didn't believe in, I think it was the Holy Trinity. He thought it was nonsensical, but he never publicly proclaimed it, and he wrote it in his journal. They found it when he died, because they would be like heresy if he admitted that. And so I would think somebody that was brilliant, that was writing these plays like this, put it down somewhere, you know?
What if he didn't think they were that good?
That's crazy. For what light the yonder window breaks? That shit is fire. Like, you know it's fire. If you write that shit down, your hand is hot.
Yeah.
Maybe he had really high expectations.
Brevity is the soul of wit. He had some bars. Shakespeare had some.
Is that
bars.
Shakespeare?
I think it is, yeah. I mean, if you look up all the words, like not just phrases, but words that Shakespeare invented, it's a crazy list.
Now, I used to argue with my I had a what do you call it? When you're in college and you go see a tutor. She was like in love with Shakespeare. Like, love this dude. And I was like, he's fire, no doubt. But I think there's another guy that's better. And so my favorite author of all time is Sal Williams. He's still alive. And that's my favorite author of all time. So we used to argue about that. And so I'm well versed in Shakespearean literature, not well versed, but I've read a lot of Shakespeare stuff because I used to argue with her all the time. He was fire, dog. Like he was nice. So if you writing that shit, you know what I mean? You got the juice. You got the juice.
So he also invented Wild Goose Chase. He invented Break the Ice, Bedazzled, In a Pickle.
Hang on. Bedazzled?
Bedazzled. He invented the word lonely.
What?
Yeah. Allegedly. I mean, Shakespeare or somebody else that Shakespeare took credit for. Green-eyed monster. That's another Shakespearean phrase. He invented the phrase, wear your heart on your sleeve. He invented the phrase, the world is your oyster.
I mean, these are top 25 today.
Staples in human language. Well, English.
I haven't even started. He invented Heart of Gold.
Wow.
He invented You're Leaving Me in Stitches.
That one's not that great.
Foregone Conclusion. This Big T, I've heard you say this one, High Time.
I don't think I've ever said that in my life.
It's high time.
That sounds like something Brandon would say.
You're right. I might be confusing you with Brandon. So yeah, I mean Shakespeare. He's got a body count.
I would argue those are more impressive than most of the plays. The fact that those have lasted 500 years.
I kind of agree.
Like you read
the plays were a convenient vehicle for him to invent new phrases.
Right. Like
Yeah.
if the plays came out now, how many of them would hit? 3 or 4?
I couldn't do Romeo and Juliet now.
Why?
Mm,
Problematic?
She was like 13.
All right,
Yeah.
but if you made it age appropriate.
That's not what. Yeah, that's not what
one.
you should be getting from Romeo and Juliet, man.
I'm just trying to play. I'm trying to look at the works in today's light.
Hamlet would still be good.
Yep.
But like
It's just The Lion King.
a ton of movies, a ton of movies take Shakespeare concepts and then just make them their own.
Yeah,
So I feel like a lot of them would play.
Macbeth, that's a fire one. I don't know if it would hit today like that though.
Othello would be definitely a hit now.
Othello would.
Othello's on Broadway right now.
Yeah.
Much Ado About Nothing.
Yep. Taming of the Shrew. Taming of the Shrew pops up every like 5 years. There's a different remake of it, but it's just in a different setting where the concept is the same. It's there's a woman that the main character lusts over or pines for, and she is a little rough around the edges, and you got to figure out a way for her to be acceptable by high society. And then you take her glasses off and take her ponytail down, and she's beautiful.
You got to clean up.
You've described most Netflix movies.
Yep.
You gotta clean
She's
up,
all
you gotta
that.
clean up her IG page. You know, make her presentable.
Yep.
10 Things I Hate About You.
10 Things I Hate About You. I think, isn't Clueless also Taming of the Shrew?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. We
I
gotta
think
clean up
Clueless
this
is Taming
rag
of the
doll.
Shrew.
She's
Yeah.
the Man.
So yeah, he had 4 different types of plays. You could break them all down: tragedies, comedies, histories, problem plays was another one. I guess you could also say romances were involved in that. But yeah, Mark Twain, big Shakespeare truther. Like, you did not do this shit. You can't. So what I was saying earlier, Aaron, is that the big qualm that Mark Twain had with Shakespeare after visiting the place that he grew up and all that stuff and doing his own research on Shakespeare, he could not believe that Shakespeare could write about all these big ideas and with such a breadth of topics and with expertise, considering where he came from and what he had studied. It would just be impossible for somebody to be able to have that much creativity and truth in their brain innately to be able to write about something that they had never ever experienced or even read about experiencing.
I mean, I feel like there's some truth to that claim, but again, I pull my old buddy Isaac Newton up. Like, when he realized that he did not have the mathematical prowess to fix the problem that he needed to fix, he invented a new branch of mathematics. And so this could be a case of, yo, you are just a genius. You know, like, you are just a literary, unimaginable genius. And his works would, that would be the case. Like, I'm talking with one of my friends here who's a PhD in poetry and stuff like that. And she's saying, yeah, she believes that he did write this stuff. But I don't know, man. Could be just a genius. I don't know.
So the quote from Twain was, "To write with powerful effect, a man must write out the life he had led, as Bacon did when he wrote Shakespeare." And I mean, a lot of stuff that Twain wrote about, that's stuff that he had lived, that he had observed himself. And I think for most authors, the stuff, if they're really, really great authors, it comes from a place of experience. You have to know the world that you're writing about in order to convey it in an entertaining way or an engaging way.
So Mark
and if Shakespeare had...
Mark Twain is calling Shakespeare studio gangster.
Exactly. Yes. It's kind of like Kendrick and Drake.
I like Drake with the melodies. I don't like Drake when he acts up.
It sucks that we didn't get to hear Shakespeare try to clap back at him.
Ooh, that'd have been nice little battle for the ages.
It would have been great. Yeah. So there's that organization I mentioned earlier called the Shakespearean Authorship Trust, and they were founded because they doubt that William Shakespeare was the actual author of his plays, and they've amassed a bunch of signatures on their manifesto And on those signatures, we've got 2 Supreme Court justices that have signed on to this: John Paul Stevens, Sandra Day O'Connor. And according to them, there are 9 possibilities as to who wrote these plays. One would be Francis Bacon, Sir Francis Bacon. So there have been people that have kind of had his back for a while. In 1867, they found a bunch of documents. They found his essays. They found copies of Richard II and Richard III and references to Shakespearean wordplay. And a bunch of people sat down and looked at his literature and found that similar words are in each of their texts. And then the Francis Bacon Society was founded in 1886, and they said that he was the founder of the Rosicrucians, a mysterious hidden occult organization centered on pro-Western ideas. And those people, the Rosicrucians, wrote many things, including all of Shakespeare's plays. So it was Francis and a bunch of people that worked for him, which would explain the volume that he was able to produce. If it wasn't just him, he was like the head editor, and then other people worked for him. Some of the other theories include a guy by the name of John Florio. John Florio, he's already kind of famous in his own right, and he defined himself as having an Italian tongue, but an English heart. Ladies,
I don't know if that's... Is that supposed to be good?
I don't think
An
it is.
English heart?
I think it is. I think in theory, when he said it, he was like, "This is a banger," and then everyone hears it and they're like, "Oh,
Right.
okay." No,
I feel like if anything, you'd flip those.
if you were going across a dating app, and the bio was Italian tongue, English heart, what's your response to that?
Oh.
I want to hear more.
Italian tongue is so scary.
I feel like British tongue, Italian at heart, would be more likely for you to be like, "Oh, okay."
Look, I don't want to I don't want to paint with a broad brush, but I don't think if anyone mentioned any tongue anything, I'm inclined to
Yeah, it's
match.
probably a good point.
You talking about your
Yeah.
tongue, period,
yeah,
is kind of I'm good.
it's a bit aggressive.
Yeah. You keep that thing over there.
So in Shakespeare, there are a bunch of new words, compound words, proverbs, and some of those can be directly attributed to this guy, John Florio. John Florio added almost as many new words to the English language as Shakespeare did. Over 1,000 new words came from Florio, and I looked it up here. Let's see if I can find it. I've got it saved on one. I got too many tabs. How many tabs do you guys have open at once?
Currently 3, max 6 or 7 on a
Yes.
laptop. On my phone, I'll never have more than one open at once.
Oh, I've got so many open on my phone.
My phone, I do have way more because I just forget
Because you don't
to
see all
close
of them. Yeah.
I'm gonna-
On my laptop, though, it's just what is mandatory.
I'm going to guess I have 50 open on my phone.
Does your fucking battery work?
Yeah, it works just fine. All right, so from Florio, if you look at his folio, you see a lot of words in passages that are added to the plays that are uncharacteristic of Shakespeare but familiar to Florio. Among them, abutting, blabbing, bungle. These are all Florioisms. And longly, mothy, queasiness, ruinish. Not really. They haven't really stood the test of time, the ones that are pure Florios, like the ones that Shakespeare has done. But a lot of those words were directly stolen by Shakespeare and some of the shit that he wrote too. I would like for it to be Florio. I think that would be fun. 2 of Florio's phrases became the titles of Shakespeare comedies. So there's some direct evidence there that he was biting off Florio. But again, everyone kind of stole from everyone back then. So I guess you could explain it that way. There's Sir Henry Neville. Sir Henry Neville was the most recent suggestion, the most recent possibility of somebody that Shakespeare could have stolen. The idea only dates back to 2005. and Neville was a diplomat. He worked in London at the same time as Shakespeare did. His life parallels the course and chronology of Shakespeare's works. His life experiences show how Shakespeare's plays ended up evolving. There are 5 independent researchers that have found the same Henry Neville encoded in various ways in the dedication to 1609 Shakespeare's sonnets and in the sonnets themselves. So Shakespeare might have been leaving clues that it was Henry Neville that was actually writing these things. So there's another person out there, William Shakespeare, Shakespear.
It's a little on the nose.
A bit on the nose. There were a bunch of plays that appeared under the name William Shakespeare from 1598, and in the collected works 7 years after his death, when Shakespeare died in 1616, John Hemmings and Henry Condell published the first folio, and that contained tributes to Shakespeare and Ben Jonson, in which they lamented his death and praised his body of work. That would be the actual William Shakespeare, but his name was Shakespeare. William Shakespeare. There's also a female, Mary Sidney. She was a countess. So she was the head of the biggest literary circle in English history. It was called Wilton Circle. So she was the first woman to publish a play in England. And some people think that she wrote all the stuff, but the plays wouldn't be as successful if it came from her. So they had to invent somebody else. There was William Stanley. William Stanley is another suggestion for it. In 1599, he financed the revival of the Paul's Boys acting troupe. Could be him. There was also an idea that it could be a group of people. So if you look at all the plays, there are different writing styles. It could be attributed to one person evolving as a writer. It could just be multiple people wrote them. In 1931, Gilbert Slater said that there were 7 Shakespeares: Francis Bacon, De Vere, Raleigh, William Stanley, Christopher Marlowe, Mary Sidney, and Roger Manners, and they were known as the Oxford Syndicate. And they said that as a group, they wrote all these plays. They picked Shakespeare to be the face of the franchise, and they got him from his meager past, and they gave him money to take all the credit for it. I don't really understand what the end game of that one would be.
Yeah. Did you talk about the Earl of Oxford? Did you mention him?
I did not.
So he, the small issue with him is that he died in 1604, which is before the final Shakespeare plays were written, but almost everything else lines up pretty perfectly. He traveled extensively all throughout Europe. He had an elite tutored education and went to Oxford, given that he was nobility, which was another reason that he wouldn't want anyone to know that he wrote these things. It was viewed as like a low-class thing to do, which is really interesting given now that if you heard someone say, I'm going to a play as opposed to I'm going to a movie, you would be like, oh, that's hoity-toity. Also, Sigmund Freud, Orson Welles, and Antonin Scalia were big proponents that the Earl of Oxford was actually the one who wrote all the Shakespeare stuff.
Interesting.
Edward de Vere was his name.
Now, what they've gone and done is they look at other prolific authors from that time and they see when that person died, and anybody that dies like right around the time that Shakespeare retired from writing,
right?
They're like, it's got to be him,
right?
Which is kind of a cool thing. If you're going to die, at least die at a time when somebody else will be able to be like people go back and say that actually you were the genius.
He died in 1604. Shakespeare died in 1616.
Okay. It is it's fishy how he just decided to stop writing. Somebody that wrote all day, every day, and had this brilliant creative mind that just wouldn't stop thinking of incredible stories, just decided, I'm going to turn that part of my brain off permanently. That doesn't seem like something that...
I mean, he wrote a lot.
He did, but I don't know that you can just walk away from all that.
You don't want to retire one day?
Yeah, but the stories would keep going in your head if you're Shakespeare. Like the worlds that he built, the stories that he created. This is a man whose brain is working 24/7, and it's an impossibly creative brain to even comprehend. The fact that he would just be able to stop all that all at once and say no more for me, kind of crazy.
What if in 400 years they're like, yeah, and then Commenter just stopped podcasting. He just quit one day.
But I could, yeah, okay. I guess I could still podcast. I could still have the thoughts and conversations.
Sure.
But Shakespeare wasn't writing anything at all. So you're thinking that that would be like saying if the podcast had never happened and I was just a writer and I did that for a bunch of years, then I never wrote anything else. But like that's the same medium. I don't know that you could say that like in terms of the spoken word, because there's a possibility after I retire from podcasting, I'm still having conversations with people.
Sure.
I'm still talking sports with the fellas.
Yeah.
It's just not recorded. So I tend to believe that Shakespeare was a fraud. What do you think, Big T?
I didn't know there was this much of a to-do about it. I'm much more intrigued in it than I was previously.
Some would say much ado about nothing.
Well, if he indeed wrote everything, if he didn't, then it's much ado about something.
About something. Much ado
it's
about...
actually little ado about something because not many people talk about this.
Yeah. Much ado about something. That's what it should be. That'd be a banger name for a movie. There should be a movie about the guy that actually wrote Shakespeare's plays.
Yeah, it'd be sick.
And maybe it was just like a super creative person that they had chained up in a dungeon and he had to write all day, every day.
Imagine if it really was someone, though, who was like high up in the nobility and like very well known and was writing these works that have lasted 500 years. And this just loser with a first grade education was getting all the credit for it. You'd just be so pissed.
So mad. You would do everything in your power to kill that guy, wouldn't you?
If that's true that one of these other guys did it, they have the most self-restraint of anyone that's ever lived.
Yeah, that's true. Mark Twain said, so far as anyone actually knows and can prove, Shakespeare never wrote a play in his life. All the rest of his vast history is furnished by the biographers as built up, course upon course of guesses, inferences, theories, conjectures, an Eiffel Tower of artificialities rising sky high.
Well, that sounds kind of like a hater, though. That's somebody who... that's Barry Bonds hitting all these home runs and being like, well, when Hank Aaron did it, they were throwing 84.
Yeah.
He didn't do that. I'm just saying if he did do steroids, though.
Twain,
way worse.
Twain's pimping his hate a little bit, isn't he?
Yeah.
Like he knows that he
Couldn't
he's
have
saying
done it
something.
in my era, is what he's saying.
He's getting a little flowery with the language. Vladimir Nabokov said, you easily, regretlessly relinquish the laurels, concealing for all time your monstrous genius behind a mask. Reveal yourself, god of iambic thunder, you 100-mouthed, unthinkably great bard.
That's doing too much.
Yeah. And you can make the argument that that's a tribute to Shakespeare, but I think a lot of people read it as being over the top with praising Shakespeare to the point of implying that it was not one guy, Shakespeare, that did all this stuff. So yeah, I wonder who gets the money. Like, does Shakespeare's estate, do they own any of the intellectual I don't know how those laws work, but does he get paid off anything that gets made from his plays? I know anyone can put his plays on, but like, does somebody own any of it?
The works of William Shakespeare are in the public domain.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't know if that's a thing in England, but it's been quite a while.
So nobody's cashing in on it.
Mickey Mouse is gonna be public domain soon.
Yeah, well, the original.
Yeah,
Steamboat Willie.
but I think I think Disney's freaking out because it's like the whole thing.
They are freaking out a little bit. Winnie the Pooh just became public domain,
Yeah.
which is why you saw the Winnie the Pooh horror movie. Yeah, public domain, kind of crazy. I wonder what song's about to hit public domain. Maybe the birthday song?
That's got to be old enough.
Isn't that why restaurants don't sing the birthday song? Because if you do it for commercial reasons, you have to pay these two old ladies a bunch of money.
Really?
Or their estate, yeah.
Huh. Oh, Steamboat Willie became public domain in 2024.
All right, so we can do whatever we want with Steamboat Willie.
You can now legally use the 1928 Mickey Mouse depicted as a black and white rat-like figure with spindly legs and no gloves in various creative projects without seeking permission from Disney.
So the things that became public domain in 2025 are books including A Farewell to Arms, All Quiet on the Western Front,
Okay.
Cup of Gold, which is John Steinbeck's first novel, Mickey Mouse, like we said, Pandora's Box, the film. There's like a ton of stuff. And then Popeye, the character.
Okay.
Tintin. Or Hergy from Hergé from Tintin. Singing in the Rain.
I like Popeye being public domain.
Yeah.
I feel like Popeye's due for a comeback. It also was just great. It was great PR for spinach.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
If you eat spinach, you'll get strong. That was a crock of shit.
It had the song It Had to Be You. There's a lot of stuff.
So I did look up and find some disparate, I guess, people that disagree vehemently with the idea of Shakespeare being a fraud. There are a bunch of Shakespeare stans out there.
I'm sure.
So this is one post that I found online. The main source of the idea that Shakespeare didn't write Shakespeare is 19th century elitism. A college-educated person had to have written the plays. But when you look at the college-educated writers of the day, they're lifeless and slavish to the rules. The next two greatest playwrights don't equal Shakespeare in originality and breadth of their love for life. Jonson is too clever by half and only writes of the city. Marlowe is all beautiful lines and stereotypical characters. When you immerse yourself in his plays, only a country bumpkin like Shakespeare would have lived and loved the things that he writes about in the plays. Nature, women, odd people, petty people, fools, and con men. I don't know that you should throw women into that sentence. Only somebody that lived in the country could love women. I guess, some people could make that argument for right now. To understand how Shakespeare came to be, we have our 20th century example in Ibsen, a country bumpkin from Norway, of all places, rewriting European theater and inventing modernism. How could that be? That question is a question of elitists and non-artists. If you've been in the biz, you know that talent comes from all over and usually not the university. Okay, so I will agree with that great art very frequently comes from people that might not have top-tier educational backgrounds. Completely fair to say. In music especially. Music, art, writing, yeah, there's definitely examples of that. But in order to be a great writer, like the best writer of all time, you would think that person would have had... We're not even asking for education. The person obviously had some education. We're saying like any proof of them attending a school or any documentation of them learning how to read and write to go on to be the best writer of all time.
Something that would lend itself to being capable of doing that.
Correct. Yeah. It's like if there's a great NFL player from 1980, you'd maybe like to know where they went to college to play football.
Sure. High school even.
Well, this guy didn't play until he got to the NFL.
Right.
He was building railroads, and he got real strong because he would have to drive the stakes in all day. And they said, Johnny, you swing that hammer harder than I've ever seen a man swing before. You ever think about going pro? And Johnny said, going pro in what? Well, in football, Johnny.
Baseball might make more sense.
Baseball. And baseball, Johnny. Said, well, you know that the St. Louis Cardinals are in town next week. They're getting actually off this train, the track that you helped build. I hear they're having open tryout. I don't know. I kind of like swinging the hammer. Just give it a shot, Johnny. Give it a shot. It's been all our dreams to get out of St. Louis. You can
they'd be going to St. Louis.
You can actually do it, Johnny. Both, yeah, I guess.
It's our dream to get out of Springfield.
We're just workshopping the story right now. And John's like, okay, I guess. Boss, is it okay if I take off 2 hours of work? The boys want me to go try out for this team. I need you swinging that hammer, Johnny. We're going to have to hire 6 men to do the work that you would do in 2 hours. I'll pay for him. I'll pay. You can take it out of my pay, put that towards hiring the new guys. I just want to go hit this ball. And then he became a 12-time All-Star and hit 750 home runs.
And then Johnny changed his name and became Stan Musial.
Yep. And now you know the rest of the story. Do you guys understand that reference at all?
Is that Forrest Gump?
The rest of the story guy?
I can just usually tell when you go into your Forrest Gump voice, which is vaguely problematic.
That wasn't Forrest. Let me try it again. And now you know the rest of the story.
Oh, is that Keith Morrison?
No, it was a guy that was on NPR. I think it was NPR when I was growing up.
Oh, I'm very thankful I don't know what that then.
Well, the NPR I'm talking about was like telling quaint stories about Americana, and then at the end of every one of these stories, it would be about a guy who changed his name, and that person became known as this. And now you know the rest of the story.
You were listening to NPR?
My parents would listen to NPR on car rides sometimes. Yeah,
that's great.
Is there a commentary that goes along with that?
No, that's great.
Okay. I mean, most NPR programs back then there was a lot of like regionally developed programs. So there was that fucking show Prairie Home Companion that I can't stand. Are you familiar with that?
No.
Okay. It was a guy, Garrison Keeler, up in Minnesota, just telling the most boring stories about lake life in Minnesota. And then people in the live audience that would laugh at things that were not funny and like give him rounds of applause for stuff that sucked. I hated that show.
So not dissimilar from Friends or Seinfeld.
Yeah, it was kind of like that, except not nearly.
Just about Minnesota lakes.
Not nearly as entertaining. Yeah. Paul Harvey was the name of the guy that did the rest of the story. Yeah, Big T, I actually think that you would really, really like it.
All right, I might check it out.
So don't think of it as being NPR. I think I would hear it on NPR, but it was done on ABC radio networks.
Okay, that's fine.
And then maybe it was syndicated. True Mysteries from History. Shout out the rest of the story. All right, that was Macrodosing. We will see you guys next week and have a happy weekend, safe weekend. Go Caps tonight. By the time you're listening to this, I hope the Caps will have advanced because I do not want to go back to Montreal. And then we will see you on Tuesday. Love you guys. And now you know the rest of the story.